Question 1. What is the significance of the rule of law in the UK? A. It ensures that the government has absolute power over its citizens. B. It guarantees that all citizens are subject to the same laws, applied equally and fairly. C. It allows the Prime Minister to override legal decisions made by the courts. D. It prioritizes the interests of the wealthy over those of the general population. Correct answer. B. It guarantees that all citizens are subject to the same laws, applied equally and fairly. Explanation. The rule of law is a fundamental principle in the UK, ensuring that all individuals and entities, including the government, are subject to the law, applied equally and fairly. It upholds the principle that no one is above the law, including government officials, and that legal decisions should be made independently by the courts without interference from the executive or legislative branches. This principle is enshrined in the UK's legal system, which includes both common law and statute law, and is essential for maintaining order, protecting individual rights, and promoting justice. Question 2. Scenario. Sarah, a British citizen, is attending a public rally where various political viewpoints are being expressed. During the rally, she encounters individuals expressing views that she strongly disagrees with and finds offensive. What action should Sarah take in this situation? A. Sarah should voice her disagreement loudly and confront the individuals expressing offensive views. B. Sarah should respect the right to freedom of expression, even if she disagrees with the views being expressed. C. Sarah should immediately leave the rally to avoid being associated with individuals expressing offensive views. D. Sarah should report the individuals expressing offensive views to the police for hate speech. Correct answer. B. Sarah should respect the right to freedom of expression, even if she disagrees with the views being expressed. Explanation. In the UK, freedom of expression is a fundamental right protected by law. While individuals may encounter views that they find offensive or disagreeable, it is essential to respect the right of others to express their opinions, even if they are unpopular. Sarah should exercise tolerance and engage in constructive dialogue or peacefully protest if she wishes to challenge or counter these views. However, attempting to suppress or silence opposing viewpoints would infringe upon the principles of free speech and undermine the democratic values of the UK. Question 3. What is the role of the judiciary in the UK? A. To create and pass laws. B. To interpret and apply laws impartially. C. To appoint members of the House of Lords. D. To advise the Prime Minister on legal matters. Correct answer. B. To interpret and apply laws impartially. Explanation. The judiciary in the UK plays a crucial role in interpreting and applying laws impartially. It consists of independent courts and judges who are responsible for interpreting legislation, resolving disputes, and upholding justice. Judges apply legal principles and precedents to individual cases, ensuring that laws are interpreted and applied consistently and fairly. The judiciary also serves as a check on the actions of the executive and legislative branches, ensuring that they comply with the law and do not exceed their powers. This independence of the judiciary is vital for maintaining the rule of law and safeguarding the rights of citizens. Question 4. What is the significance of the rule of law in the UK? A. It ensures that laws are made by elected officials. B. It establishes the supremacy of the judiciary over the government. C. It guarantees equal treatment under the law for all citizens. D. It allows the Prime Minister to override parliamentary decisions. Correct answer. C. It guarantees equal treatment under the law for all citizens. Explanation. The rule of law is a fundamental principle in the UK legal system that ensures everyone, including government officials, is subject to the law. It guarantees that laws are applied equally and fairly to all citizens, irrespective of their status or position in society. This principle prevents arbitrary use of power and ensures that individuals have legal recourse if their rights are violated. It is enshrined in various legal documents, including the Magna Carta and the Human Rights Act 1998. Question 5. Which institution in the UK is responsible for making and passing laws? A. The monarchy. B. The House of Lords. C. The Cabinet. D. The Parliament. Correct answer. D. The Parliament. Explanation. Parliament, consisting of two houses, the House of Commons and the House of Lords, is responsible for making and passing laws in the UK. The legislative process involves proposing, debating, amending, and voting on bills before they become law. While the monarchy symbolizes the state and has ceremonial roles, it does not have the power to make laws. Option A. The House of Lords, option B, is involved in the legislative process, but it does not have the sole authority to make laws. The Cabinet, option C, is part of the executive branch and implements laws but does not have the authority to make them independently. Question 6. Scenario: Mr. Patel, a British citizen, witnesses an act of discrimination against a coworker based on their ethnicity. What action should Mr. Patel take in accordance with UK values and principles? A. Ignore the incident to avoid conflict in the workplace. B. Report the incident to the police immediately. C. Confront the perpetrator directly and demand an explanation. D. Report the incident to the appropriate authority or HR department. Correct answer: D. Report the incident to the appropriate authority or HR department. Explanation: in the UK, discrimination based on ethnicity is illegal and goes against the core values of tolerance and respect for the rights of others. Mr. Patel should take appropriate action by reporting the incident to the relevant authority or HR department within his workplace. This ensures that the issue is addressed through proper channels and appropriate measures are taken to prevent further discrimination. Question 7. What is the role of the Prime Minister in the UK political system? A. To appoint members of the House of Lords. B. To serve as the head of state and represent the UK internationally. C. To lead the government, set policy direction, and make key decisions. D. To preside over court proceedings and interpret laws. Correct answer: C. To lead the government, set policy direction, and make key decisions. Explanation: the Prime Minister in the UK is the head of the government and leads the executive branch. Their primary role is to set the policy direction for the country, make key decisions on domestic and foreign affairs, and oversee the implementation of government policies. They are not involved in appointing members of the House of Lords, option A, as this is typically done by the monarch on the advice of the Prime Minister. While the Prime Minister represents the UK internationally, they are not the head of state, option B. That role belongs to the monarch. Option D is incorrect as interpreting laws falls within the purview of the judiciary, not the Prime Minister. Question A. In the context of UK citizenship, what does the principle of individual liberty encompass? A. The freedom to express opinions without fear of persecution. B. The right to own property and assets without government interference. C. The ability to vote in elections and participate in political processes. D. The obligation to obey laws and respect authority figures. Correct answer: A. The freedom to express opinions without fear of persecution. Explanation: individual liberty in the UK encompasses various freedoms, including the freedom of expression, religion, and belief. This principle ensures that individuals have the right to express their opinions, beliefs, and convictions without fear of persecution or censorship from the government or other entities. Option B relates more to property rights, which are part of individual liberty but do not fully encompass the principle. Option C refers to political rights such as voting, which are important but are not the sole focus of individual liberty. Option D highlights responsibilities rather than rights, which are distinct concepts from individual liberty. Question 9. Scenario: Miss Thompson, a resident of Scotland, is called for jury duty. She feels that serving on the jury would conflict with her personal beliefs and wishes to be excused. What should Miss Thompson do in accordance with the UK citizenship responsibilities? A. Ignore the jury duty summons and do not appear for service. B. Contact the court and explain her reasons for being excused from jury duty. C. Hire a lawyer to represent her and seek legal exemption from jury duty. D. Attend jury duty but refuse to participate in the proceedings. Correct answer: B. Contact the court and explain her reasons for being excused from jury duty. Explanation: jury service is a civic responsibility in the UK, but individuals may be excused under certain circumstances such as conflicts of interest or personal beliefs. Miss Thompson should contact the court and explain her reasons for being excused from jury duty. This allows the court to assess her situation and determine if she qualifies for exemption. Ignoring the summons, option A, may result in legal consequences, as jury duty is a legal obligation. Hiring a lawyer, option C, is unnecessary and may not guarantee exemption. Option D is not a viable course of action, as attending jury duty but refusing to participate undermines the integrity of the legal process. Question 10. What is the significance of multiculturalism in the UK? A. It promotes the dominance of one culture over others. B. It encourages the integration of diverse cultural identities into society. C. It restricts the practice of cultural traditions and beliefs. D. It limits opportunities for cross-cultural exchange and understanding. Correct answer. B. It encourages the integration of diverse cultural identities into society. Explanation. Multiculturalism in the UK refers to the recognition, acceptance, and celebration of diverse cultural identities within society. It emphasizes the importance of respecting and valuing different cultural traditions, beliefs, and practices. Multiculturalism promotes social cohesion by fostering understanding, tolerance, and cooperation among people from various backgrounds. Option is incorrect because multiculturalism aims to promote equality and inclusion rather than dominance of one culture. Option C is incorrect as multiculturalism seeks to accommodate diverse cultural practices rather than restrict them. Option D is incorrect as multiculturalism enhances opportunities for cross-cultural exchange and understanding rather than limiting them. Question 11. In the UK, what is the role of the House of Lords in the legislative process? A. To propose and draft bills for consideration. B. To review and revise bills passed by the House of Commons. C. To enforce laws and ensure compliance with legislative measures. D. To represent the interests of specific constituencies in Parliament. Correct answer. B. To review and revise bills passed by the House of Commons. Explanation. The House of Lords is the upper chamber of Parliament in the UK and plays a complementary role to the House of Commons in the legislative process. While it does not have the power to propose or initiate financial bills, its primary function is to review and revise legislation proposed by the House of Commons. This process involves scrutinizing bills, suggesting amendments, and providing expert input before they become law. Option is incorrect because bills are typically proposed in the House of Commons, not the House of Lords. Option C misrepresents the role of the House of Lords, which is primarily legislative rather than executive or enforcement focused. Option D is incorrect as members of the House of Lords are not elected to represent specific constituencies but rather appointed or inherit their positions. Question 12. Scenario: Mr. Davies, a British citizen, is organizing a community event to promote civic engagement and social cohesion. He wants to ensure that the event is inclusive and accessible to all members of the community. What steps should Mr. Davies take to fulfill his responsibilities as a citizen? A. Limit participation to individuals of a specific ethnic or religious background. B. Provide translation services and accommodations for individuals with disabilities. C. Exclude individuals who do not share his political beliefs or affiliations. D. Implement strict dress codes to maintain uniformity among attendees. Correct answer. B. Provide translation services and accommodations for individuals with disabilities. Explanation. As a responsible citizen organizing a community event, Mr. Davies should prioritize inclusivity and accessibility to ensure that all members of the community feel welcome and able to participate. Providing translation services for individuals with limited English proficiency and accommodations for those with disabilities demonstrates a commitment to inclusion and accessibility. Option A contradicts the principles of multiculturalism and tolerance by limiting participation based on ethnicity or religion. Option C goes against the principles of democracy and freedom of expression by excluding individuals based on political beliefs. Option D imposes unnecessary restrictions and does not contribute to inclusivity or accessibility. Question 13. What is the significance of the Magna Carta in the development of the UK's legal system? A. It established the principle of parliamentary sovereignty. B. It granted voting rights to all citizens regardless of status. C. It limited the power of the monarchy and established the rule of law. D. It abolished the House of Lords and established a unicameral legislature. Correct answer. C. It limited the power of the monarchy and established the rule of law. Explanation. The Magna Carta, signed in 1215, is considered a foundational document in the development of the UK's legal system. It established the principle that the monarchy was subject to the law and could not exercise absolute power without legal restraint. The Magna Carta laid the groundwork for concepts such as due process, trial by jury, and protection against arbitrary imprisonment, which are fundamental to the rule of law. Question 14. In the context of UK citizenship, what does the principle of tolerance entail? A. Promoting uniformity and conformity within society. B. Accepting and respecting diverse cultural and religious beliefs. C. Restricting freedom of expression to avoid controversy. D. Excluding individuals who hold different opinions or perspectives. Correct answer. B. Accepting and respecting diverse cultural and religious beliefs. Explanation. The principle of tolerance in UK citizenship emphasizes accepting and respecting the diversity of cultural, religious, and ideological beliefs within society. Tolerance fosters an inclusive and pluralistic society where individuals can coexist peacefully despite differences in opinions, backgrounds, and lifestyles. Option is incorrect, as tolerance does not seek to enforce uniformity or conformity but rather celebrates diversity. Option C is incorrect, as tolerance does not restrict freedom of expression but rather encourages respectful dialogue and exchange of ideas. Option D contradicts the principle of tolerance by advocating for exclusion based on differences in opinions or perspectives. Question 15. Scenario: Ms. Lewis, a British citizen, has been selected for jury duty in a high-profile criminal trial. During the trial, she discovers that one of the jurors is a close friend. What action should Ms. Lewis take in accordance with UK citizenship responsibilities? A. Conceal the relationship to avoid disrupting the trial proceedings. B. Inform the judge or court officials about the relationship immediately. C. Confront her friend privately and request that they step down from the jury. D. Consult with legal experts before deciding on the appropriate course of action. Correct answer. B. Inform the judge or court officials about the relationship immediately. Explanation. In the UK, jurors are expected to be impartial and free from any conflicts of interest or bias. If Ms. Lewis discovers that one of the jurors is a close friend, it is her responsibility to inform the judge or court officials about the relationship immediately. Concealing the relationship, option A, would compromise the integrity of the trial and could result in legal consequences for Ms. Lewis. While confronting her friend privately, option C, may seem like a proactive step, it is not appropriate for Ms. Lewis to intervene directly in the jury selection process. Option D is not the most immediate or appropriate action to take in the scenario, as informing the judge or court officials is crucial for upholding the principles of fairness and impartiality in the legal system. Question 16. What role does the concept of democracy play in the UK political system? A. It grants unlimited power to the Prime Minister. B. It ensures the dominance of one political party in elections. C. It allows citizens to participate in decision-making through voting. D. It restricts individual freedoms and rights. Correct answer. C. It allows citizens to participate in decision-making through voting. Explanation. Democracy in the UK enables citizens to participate in the political process by exercising their right to vote in elections. This allows individuals to choose their representatives in Parliament and hold them accountable for their actions. Democratic principles also include the protection of individual rights and freedoms, the rule of law, and checks and balances on government power. Option is incorrect, because democracy in the UK does not grant unlimited power to any single individual, including the Prime Minister. Option B is incorrect, as democracy promotes fair competition among political parties rather than ensuring the dominance of one party. Option D is incorrect, as democracy, if anything, enhances individual freedoms and rights by providing avenues for political participation and representation. Question 17. What is the primary function of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament? A. To review and amend legislation proposed by the House of Lords. B. To represent the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. C. To serve as the head of state and represent the UK internationally. D. To provide legal oversight and interpretation of laws passed by Parliament. Correct answer. B. To represent the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. Explanation. The House of Commons is the lower chamber of Parliament in the UK and consists of members of Parliament, MPs, who are elected by the public in general elections. Its primary function is to represent the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents by debating and voting on proposed legislation, scrutinizing the actions of the government, and addressing issues of national importance. Question 18. Scenario: Mr. Khan, a UK citizen, is participating in a public protest against government policies. During the protest, he witnesses acts of violence and vandalism by a small group of individuals. What action should Mr. Khan take in accordance with UK citizenship responsibilities? A. Join the group engaging in violence to express dissent more forcefully. B. Ignore the violence and focus on peacefully expressing his own views. C. Report the violent individuals to law enforcement authorities. D. Confront the violent individuals directly to persuade them to stop. Correct answer. C. Report the violent individuals to law enforcement authorities. Explanation. As a responsible citizen, Mr. Khan should uphold the principles of nonviolence and respect for the law. Witnessing acts of violence and vandalism during a protest presents an opportunity for Mr. Khan to demonstrate his commitment to peaceful protest and adherence to the rule of law. Reporting the violent individuals to law enforcement authorities is the appropriate course of action to help maintain public safety, prevent further harm, and ensure accountability for those responsible for criminal behavior. Question 19. What is the significance of the House of Lords in the UK's legislative process? A. It serves as the primary legislative body, drafting and passing bills. B. It represents the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. C. It provides expert review and revision of legislation proposed by the House of Commons. D. It oversees the enforcement and interpretation of laws passed by Parliament. Correct answer. C. It provides expert review and revision of legislation proposed by the House of Commons. Explanation. The House of Lords, as the upper chamber of Parliament, plays a complementary role to the House of Commons in the legislative process. While it does not have the power to initiate most legislation, its members, including appointed life peers, bishops, and hereditary peers, contribute to the scrutiny, review, and revision of bills proposed by the House of Commons. The House of Lords provides expertise in various fields and acts as a revising chamber suggesting amendments and improvements to legislation before it becomes law. Question 20. In the context of UK citizenship, what does the principle of equality before the law entail? A. Providing preferential treatment to certain individuals based on their status or background. B. Ensuring that all individuals are subject to the same laws and legal procedures. C. Limiting access to legal rights and protections for certain groups. D. Granting immunity from prosecution to government officials and authorities. Correct answer. B. Ensuring that all individuals are subject to the same laws and legal procedures. Explanation. Equality before the law is a fundamental principle in UK citizenship that ensures all individuals, regardless of their status, background, or characteristics, are subject to the same laws and legal procedures. This principle promotes fairness, impartiality, and justice within the legal system, guaranteeing that everyone is treated equally under the law. Option A is incorrect because providing preferential treatment based on status or background would undermine the principle of equality before the law. Option C is incorrect because limiting access to legal rights and protections for certain groups would also violate the principle of equality. Option D is incorrect because granting immunity from prosecution to government officials and authorities would undermine accountability and the rule of law. Question 21. Scenario: Ms. Roberts, a UK citizen, is considering running for local office in her community. What responsibilities does she undertake by participating in the political process? A. Upholding the principles of democracy and representing the interests of her constituents. B. Promoting social inequality and favoring specific groups over others. C. Undermining the rule of law and disregarding legal obligations. D. Exercising authoritarian control and suppressing dissenting voices. Correct answer. A. Upholding the principles of democracy and representing the interests of her constituents. Explanation. By participating in the political process and running for a local office, Ms. Roberts undertakes the responsibility of upholding the principles of democracy, including representing the interests of her constituents, promoting transparency, and fostering civic engagement. As an elected official, she is accountable to the people she serves and is expected to act in their best interests while adhering to the rule of law. Question 22. What is the significance of the concept of judicial independence in the UK legal system? A. It ensures that judges are appointed by the Prime Minister. B. It guarantees that judges are immune from criticism or scrutiny. C. It safeguards the impartiality and integrity of the judiciary. D. It allows the government to interfere in court proceedings. Correct answer. C. It safeguards the impartiality and integrity of the judiciary. Explanation. Judicial independence is a cornerstone of the UK legal system, ensuring that judges are free from undue influence or interference from the government or other external entities. It safeguards the impartiality, integrity, and credibility of the judiciary, allowing judges to make decisions based solely on the law and evidence presented in court without fear of reprisal or bias. Question 23. In the UK, What role does the monarch play in the legislative process? A. The monarch has the authority to veto any legislation passed by Parliament. B. The monarch presides over parliamentary debates and decisions. C. The monarch formally opens and dissolves Parliament, signaling the start and end of each parliamentary session. D. The monarch appoints members of the House of Commons. Correct answer. C. The monarch formally opens and dissolves Parliament, signaling the start and end of each parliamentary session. Explanation. In the UK, the monarch's role in the legislative process is largely ceremonial and symbolic. While the monarch retains certain constitutional powers, such as the ability to formally open and dissolve Parliament, these powers are exercised on the advice of the Prime Minister and are typically non-discretionary. The monarch does not have the authority to veto legislation passed by Parliament, option A, preside over parliamentary debates and decisions, option B, or appoint members of the House of Commons, option D, as these functions are performed by elected officials in parliamentary procedures. Question 24. Scenario: Mr. Taylor, a British citizen, is organizing a community workshop to raise awareness about environmental conservation. What responsibilities does he undertake by organizing this event? A. Promoting divisiveness and exclusion within the community. B. Fostering a sense of unity and cooperation among community members. C. Disregarding environmental laws and regulations. D. Advocating for corporate interests over environmental protection. Correct answer. B. Fostering a sense of unity and cooperation among community members. Explanation. By organizing a community workshop to raise awareness about environmental conservation, Mr. Taylor undertakes the responsibility of fostering a sense of unity and cooperation among community members. His goal is to bring people together to address common environmental challenges and promote collective action for positive change. Question 25. What is the role of the Cabinet in the UK government? A. It serves as the primary legislative body, drafting and passing bills. B. It represents the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. C. It advises the Prime Minister and sets government policy and priorities. D. It oversees the enforcement and interpretation of laws passed by Parliament. Correct answer. C. It advises the Prime Minister and sets government policy and priorities. Explanation. The Cabinet in the UK government is composed of senior government ministers, including the Prime Minister, who are responsible for making key policy decisions and setting government priorities. The Cabinet advises the Prime Minister on various issues, including domestic and foreign policy, and plays a central role in the executive branch of government. While individual ministers may represent specific departments or constituencies, the Cabinet as a whole sets the overall direction of government policy. Question 26. In the UK, what is the significance of the principle of civic engagement? A. It encourages passive participation in community activities without active involvement. B. It promotes active participation in democratic processes and community affairs. C. It restricts individuals' rights to express their opinions and viewpoints. D. It limits access to public services and resources based on citizenship status. Correct answer. B. It promotes active participation in democratic processes and community affairs. Explanation. Civic engagement in the UK refers to the active participation of citizens in democratic processes, community affairs, and public life. It involves various forms of involvement, such as voting in elections, participating in community organizations, volunteering, and advocating for social and political change. Civic engagement is essential for maintaining a healthy democracy, fostering social cohesion, and empowering individuals to contribute positively to society. Question 27. Scenario: Mr. Patel, a British citizen, is preparing to vote in a local election. However, he is unsure about the candidates' positions on key issues. What actions can Mr. Patel take to make an informed decision? A. Abstain from voting to avoid making an uninformed choice. B. Conduct research on the candidates' backgrounds, platforms, and policies. C. Vote based on personal biases or preferences without considering candidate qualifications. D. Base his decision solely on the candidates' campaign advertisements and slogans. Correct answer. B. Conduct research on the candidates' backgrounds, platforms, and policies. Explanation. To make an informed decision in a local election, Mr. Patel should conduct research on the candidates' backgrounds, platforms, and policies. This may involve reviewing candidates' statements, attending campaign events or debates, consulting reliable sources of information, and considering their track records or past achievements. By gathering information and evaluating candidates based on their qualifications and positions on key issues, Mr. Patel can make a more informed choice that aligns with his values and priorities. Question 28. What is the significance of the concept of parliamentary sovereignty in the UK? A. It grants unlimited power to the monarch to override parliamentary decisions. B. It ensures that Parliament is subject to the authority of the judiciary. C. It establishes Parliament as the supreme legal authority, capable of making or repealing any law. D. It restricts the ability of Parliament to enact legislation without prior approval from the Prime Minister. Correct answer. C. It establishes Parliament as the supreme legal authority, capable of making or repealing any law. Explanation. Parliamentary sovereignty is a fundamental principle of the UK's constitutional framework, establishing Parliament as the supreme legal authority with the power to make or repeal any law. This means that Parliament has the ultimate authority to enact legislation, and no other body, including the monarch or the judiciary, can override or set aside parliamentary decisions. Question 29. In the context of UK citizenship, what are some examples of civic responsibilities? A. Paying taxes, obeying laws, and serving on a jury if called upon. B. Engaging in political activism and protesting government policies. C. Exercising freedom of speech to criticize elected officials. D. Participating in community events and social gatherings. Correct answer. A. Paying taxes, obeying laws, and serving on a jury if called upon. Explanation. Civic responsibilities are duties and obligations that citizens are expected to fulfill as members of society. Examples include paying taxes to support public services and infrastructure, obeying laws to maintain social order and harmony, and serving on a jury if called upon to participate in the judicial process. These responsibilities are essential for upholding the rule of law, promoting civic engagement, and contributing to the well-being of the community. Question 30. Scenario: Mrs. Brown, a UK citizen, is concerned about a proposed development project in her neighborhood that could have negative environmental impacts. What actions can Mrs. Brown take to address her concerns as a responsible citizen? A. Contact local government officials to express her opposition to the project. B. File a lawsuit against the developers to halt the project indefinitely. C. Organize a protest and block access to the construction site. D. Ignore the issue and hope that it resolves itself over time. Correct answer. A. Contact local government officials to express her opposition to the project. Explanation. As a responsible citizen, Mrs. Brown can address her concerns about the proposed development project by contacting local government officials to express her opposition. This may involve writing letters, attending public meetings, or petitioning relevant authorities to consider alternative options or mitigate potential negative impacts. Engaging with government officials allows Mrs. Brown to participate in the democratic process and advocate for her community's interests in a constructive and lawful manner. Question 31. What is the significance of the principle of rule of law in the UK legal system? A. It grants absolute power to the government without any checks or balances. B. It ensures that individuals are above the law and immune from prosecution. C. It establishes that everyone, including government officials, is subject to the law. D. It limits access to legal rights and protections for certain groups in society. Correct answer. C. It establishes that everyone, including government officials, is subject to the law. Explanation. The principle of rule of law in the UK legal system establishes that no one is above the law, including government officials and institutions. It ensures that laws are applied fairly and consistently, and that individuals are accountable for their actions. The rule of law promotes transparency, predictability, and justice, serving as a foundation for a democratic society. Question 32. What is the role of the Prime Minister in the UK government? A. To serve as the head of state and represent the UK internationally. B. To oversee the legislative process and enact laws passed by Parliament. C. To advise the monarch on matters of state and government policy. D. To lead the executive branch of government and set government policy and priorities. Correct answer. D. To lead the executive branch of government and set government policy and priorities. Explanation. The Prime Minister in the UK government serves as the head of the executive branch and is responsible for leading the government, setting policy direction, and making key decisions on behalf of the country. The Prime Minister is typically the leader of the political party that has the majority of seats in the House of Commons. Question 33. Scenario: Mr. Rodriguez, a UK citizen, is preparing to participate in a public debate on immigration policy. What should he consider to contribute effectively to the discussion? A. Presenting personal opinions without factual evidence or supporting arguments. B. Engaging in personal attacks or derogatory remarks against opponents. C. Conducting research on immigration policies, statistics, and relevant laws. D. Ignoring alternative viewpoints and perspectives to reinforce personal beliefs. Correct answer. C. Conducting research on immigration policies, statistics, and relevant laws. Explanation. To contribute effectively to the discussion on immigration policy, Mr. Rodriguez should conduct research to understand the complexities of the issue, including relevant policies, statistics, and laws. This will enable him to present well-informed arguments supported by factual evidence, contribute to constructive dialogue, and engage with alternative viewpoints and perspectives. Options A, B, and D are incorrect because presenting personal opinions without evidence, engaging in personal attacks, and ignoring alternative viewpoints hinder productive discourse and may undermine the credibility of Mr. Rodriguez's arguments. Question 34. What is the role of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament? A. To review and amend legislation proposed by the House of Lords. B. To represent the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. C. To serve as the head of state and represent the UK internationally. D. To provide expert review and revision of legislation proposed by the government. Question 34. What is the role of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament? A. To review and amend legislation proposed by the House of Lords. B. To represent the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. C. To serve as the head of state and represent the UK internationally. D. To provide expert review and revision of legislation proposed by the government. Question 35. What is the significance of the Magna Carta in the development of the UK's legal system? A. It established the principle of parliamentary sovereignty. D. It granted voting rights to all citizens regardless of status. C. It limited the power of the monarchy and established the rule of law. D. It abolished the House of Lords and established a unicameral legislature. Correct answer. C. It limited the power of the monarchy and established the rule of law. Explanation. The Magna Carta, signed in 1215, is considered a foundational document in the development of the UK's legal system. It established the principle that the monarchy was subject to the law and could not exercise absolute power without legal restraint. The Magna Carta laid the groundwork for concepts such as due process, trial by jury, and protection against arbitrary imprisonment, which are fundamental to the rule of law. Question 36. In the context of UK citizenship, what does the principle of tolerance entail? A. Promoting uniformity and conformity within society. B. Accepting and respecting diverse cultural and religious beliefs. C. Restricting freedom of expression to avoid controversy. D. Excluding individuals who hold different opinions or perspectives. Correct answer. B. Accepting and respecting diverse cultural and religious beliefs. Explanation. The principle of tolerance in UK citizenship emphasizes accepting and respecting the diversity of cultural, religious, and ideological beliefs within society. Tolerance fosters an inclusive and pluralistic society where individuals can coexist peacefully despite differences in opinions, backgrounds, and lifestyles. Option is incorrect as tolerance does not seek to enforce uniformity or conformity but rather celebrates diversity. Option C is incorrect as tolerance does not restrict freedom of expression but rather encourages respectful dialogue and exchange of ideas. Option D contradicts the principle of tolerance by advocating for exclusion based on differences in opinions or perspectives. Question 37. Scenario: Mr. Lewis, a British citizen, has been selected for jury duty in a high-profile criminal trial. During the trial, he discovers that one of the jurors is a close friend. What action should Mr. Lewis take in accordance with UK citizenship responsibilities? A. Conceal the relationship to avoid disrupting the trial proceedings. B. Inform the judge or court officials about the relationship immediately. C. Confront his friend privately and request that they step down from the jury. D. Consult with legal experts before deciding on the appropriate course of action. Correct answer. B. Inform the judge or court officials about the relationship immediately. Explanation. In the UK, jurors are expected to be impartial and free from any conflicts of interest or bias. If Mr. Lewis discovers that one of the jurors is a close friend, it is his responsibility to inform the judge or court officials about the relationship immediately. Concealing the relationship, option A, would compromise the integrity of the trial and could result in legal consequences for Mr. Lewis. While confronting his friend privately, option C, may seem like a proactive step, it is not appropriate for Mr. Lewis to intervene directly in the jury selection process. Option D is not the most immediate or appropriate action to take in the scenario, as informing the judge or court officials is crucial for upholding the principles of fairness and impartiality in the legal system. Question 38. What is the role of the House of Lords in the UK Parliament? A. To represent the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. B. To serve as a head of state and represent the UK internationally. C. To provide expert review and revision of legislation proposed by the House of Commons. D. To oversee the enforcement and interpretation of laws passed by Parliament. Correct answer. C. To provide expert review and revision of legislation proposed by the House of Commons. Explanation. The House of Lords in the UK Parliament is the upper chamber and is primarily responsible for providing expert review and revision of legislation proposed by the House of Commons. While the House of Commons represents specific constituencies, option A, the House of Lords complements its role by scrutinizing legislation, suggesting amendments, and providing a different perspective on proposed laws. Options B and D are incorrect because they do not accurately describe the role of the House of Lords. The monarch serves as the head of state, option B, and the enforcement and interpretation of laws are primarily carried out by the executive branch and the judiciary, respectively, option D. Question 39. In the UK, what does the principle of individual liberty entail? A. Imposing restrictions on freedom of expression and belief. B. Upholding the rights of individuals to express their opinions without censorship. C. Limiting access to legal rights and protections based on citizenship status. D. Granting preferential treatment to certain individuals based on their background. Correct answer. B. Upholding the rights of individuals to express their opinions without censorship. Explanation. The principle of individual liberty in the UK emphasizes the rights of individuals to express their opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints without censorship or undue interference from the government or other entities. Individual liberty encompasses freedoms such as freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of conscience, which are protected by law and enshrined in human rights legislation. Question 40. Scenario: Mrs. Evans, a UK citizen, is attending a public debate on environmental sustainability. During the debate, she encounters individuals who hold differing viewpoints on the issue. What approach should Mrs. Evans take to engage constructively in the discussion? A. Disregard alternative viewpoints and assert her own opinions forcefully. B. Listen actively to diverse perspectives and seek common ground for dialogue. C. Interrupt and challenge opposing viewpoints without allowing for discussion. D. Avoid participating in the debate to prevent disagreements or conflicts. Correct answer. B. Listen actively to diverse perspectives and seek common ground for dialogue. Explanation. To engage constructively in the discussion on environmental sustainability, Mrs. Evans should adopt an approach that involves actively listening to diverse perspectives, respecting differing viewpoints, and seeking common ground for dialogue and collaboration. This approach promotes open-mindedness, fosters mutual understanding, and encourages constructive exchange of ideas. Question 41. What is the significance of the principle of equality before the law in the UK legal system? A. It ensures that individuals are subject to different laws based on their status or background. B. It guarantees equal treatment and protection under the law for all individuals. C. It grants immunity from prosecution to government officials and authorities. D. It restricts access to legal rights and protections for certain groups in society. Correct answer. B. It guarantees equal treatment and protection under the law for all individuals. Explanation. The principle of equality before the law in the UK legal system ensures that all individuals, regardless of their status, background, or characteristics, are entitled to equal treatment and protection under the law. This principle promotes fairness, impartiality, and justice within the legal system, preventing discrimination and ensuring that everyone is held accountable to the same standards. Question 42. In the context of UK citizenship, what does the principle of respect for the rights of others entail? A. Prioritizing individual rights over collective interests and community well-being. B. Upholding the rights and freedoms of all individuals within society. C. Exercising authority and control over others without regard for their rights. D. Limiting access to legal rights and protections for certain groups based on their beliefs. Correct answer. B. Upholding the rights and freedoms of all individuals within society. Explanation. The principle of respect for the rights of others in UK citizenship emphasizes upholding the rights and freedoms of all individuals within society without discrimination or prejudice. It promotes mutual respect, tolerance, and understanding among diverse individuals and groups, fostering a culture of inclusivity and respect for human dignity. Question 43. Scenario: Mr. Khan, a UK citizen, is participating in a town hall meeting to discuss community issues. During the meeting, he encounters individuals with differing opinions and perspectives. How can Mr. Khan contribute effectively to the discussion while respecting diverse viewpoints? A. Dismiss alternative viewpoints and assert his own opinions forcefully. B. Listen actively to diverse perspectives and seek common ground for collaboration. C. Interrupt and challenge opposing viewpoints without allowing for discussion. D. Avoid engaging with individuals who hold differing opinions to prevent conflict. Correct answer. B. Listen actively to diverse perspectives and seek common ground for collaboration. Explanation. To contribute effectively to the discussion while respecting diverse viewpoints, Mr. Khan should listen actively to the perspectives of others and seek common ground for collaboration and consensus building. Actively listening allows Mr. Khan to understand the concerns and perspectives of others, while seeking common ground promotes constructive dialogue and mutual understanding. Question 44. What role does multiculturalism play in the UK society? A. It emphasizes assimilation and uniformity among diverse cultural groups. B. It promotes the celebration and preservation of diverse cultural identities. C. It restricts interaction between individuals from different cultural backgrounds. D. It imposes one dominant cultural perspective on all members of society. Correct answer. B. It promotes the celebration and preservation of diverse cultural identities. Explanation. Multiculturalism in UK society promotes the celebration and preservation of diverse cultural identities, fostering an environment where individuals from different cultural backgrounds can coexist harmoniously while maintaining their unique traditions, languages, and customs. This approach recognizes the richness and contributions of various cultural groups to the fabric of society, promoting inclusivity and mutual respect. Question 45. In the UK legal system, what is the significance of the principle of habeas corpus? A. It grants individuals the right to a fair trial and legal representation. B. It ensures that individuals cannot be detained arbitrarily without legal justification. C. It allows individuals to challenge the constitutionality of laws in court. D. It guarantees individuals the right to remain silent during police questioning. Correct answer. B. It ensures that individuals cannot be detained arbitrarily without legal justification. Explanation. Habeas corpus is a legal principle that safeguards individual liberty by preventing arbitrary detention without legal justification. It requires authorities to justify the legality of a person's detention by presenting them before a court and providing evidence of lawful authority for the detention. Habeas corpus serves as a crucial protection against unlawful imprisonment and is fundamental to the rule of law in the UK legal system. Question 46. Scenario: Ms. Tell, a UK citizen, is considering running for local office in her community. What steps can she take to prepare for her candidacy and effectively represent her constituents? A. Ignore feedback and criticism from constituents to maintain independence. B. Develop a comprehensive understanding of local issues and concerns. C. Focus solely on personal interests and agendas rather than community needs. D. Avoid engaging with diverse community groups and stakeholders. Correct answer. B. Develop a comprehensive understanding of local issues and concerns. Explanation. To prepare for her candidacy and effectively represent her constituents, Ms. Tell should develop a comprehensive understanding of local issues and concerns. This involves actively listening to constituents, researching local challenges and priorities, and developing policies and initiatives that address community needs. Question 47. What is the significance of the principle of judicial independence in the UK legal system? A. It allows the government to interfere with court decisions to achieve political goals. B. It ensures that judges are appointed based on their political affiliations. C. It safeguards the impartiality and autonomy of the judiciary from external influence. D. It grants the judiciary the power to enact and enforce laws independently of Parliament. Correct answer. C. It safeguards the impartiality and autonomy of the judiciary from external influence. Explanation. The principle of judicial independence in the UK legal system ensures that the judiciary operates free from undue influence or interference from the government, political parties, or other external entities. This safeguard promotes impartiality, integrity, and autonomy within the judiciary, allowing judges to adjudicate cases based on the law and evidence rather than political considerations or pressure. Question 48. In the context of UK citizenship, what is the significance of the Magna Carta? A. It established the principle of parliamentary sovereignty. B. It granted voting rights to all citizens regardless of status. C. It limited the power of the monarchy and established the rule of law. D. It abolished the House of Lords and established a unicameral legislature. Correct answer. C. It limited the power of the monarchy and established the rule of law. Explanation. The Magna Carta, signed in 1215, is a historic document that limited the power of the monarchy and established the principle of the rule of law in the UK. It placed restrictions on the monarch's ability to exercise absolute authority and guaranteed certain legal rights and protections to barons and freemen. Question 49. Scenario: Mr. Thompson, a UK citizen, is concerned about rising homelessness in his community. What actions can he take to address this issue as a responsible citizen? A. Blame the government for failing to address the issue and avoid personal involvement. B. Volunteer at local homeless shelters and support organizations. C. Criticize homeless individuals for their situation and advocate for stricter laws. D. Ignore the issue and hope that it resolves itself over time. Correct answer. B. Volunteer at local homeless shelters and support organizations. Explanation. As a responsible citizen, Mr. Thompson can take proactive steps to address homelessness in his community by volunteering at local homeless shelters and support organizations. By providing direct assistance and support to homeless individuals, Mr. Thompson can make a tangible difference in improving their lives and addressing the root causes of homelessness. Question 50. What is the role of the monarch in the UK government? A. To serve as the head of the executive branch and make laws. B. To represent the UK internationally and conduct foreign affairs. C. To hold ceremonial duties and symbolize the unity of the nation. D. To serve as the head of Parliament and oversee legislative proceedings. Correct answer. C. To hold ceremonial duties and symbolize the unity of the nation. Explanation. In the UK government, the role of the monarch is primarily ceremonial, representing the continuity and unity of the nation. The monarch performs ceremonial duties such as the state opening of Parliament and the granting of royal assent to legislation passed by Parliament. While the monarch may conduct some formal diplomatic activities, option B, the executive powers are exercised by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. Question 51. What are the key principles of democracy in the context of UK citizenship? A. Centralized decision-making and limited public participation. B. One-party rule and suppression of political opposition. C. Rule of law and respect for human rights. D. Electoral accountability and political pluralism. Correct answer. D. Electoral accountability and political pluralism. Explanation. In the context of UK citizenship, democracy is characterized by principles such as electoral accountability, where elected representatives are accountable to voters through regular elections, and political pluralism, which ensures a diversity of political parties and viewpoints. These principles promote competition, participation, and representation in decision-making processes. Question 52. Scenario: Mrs. Cooper, a UK citizen, encounters discrimination based on her religious beliefs in a public setting. What actions can she take to address this situation in accordance with UK values and principles? A. Confront the discriminators publicly to raise awareness. B. File a complaint with the Equality and Human Rights Commission, (ERC). C. Retaliate against the discriminators to assert her rights forcefully. D. Ignore the discrimination to avoid escalating the situation. Correct answer. B. File a complaint with the Equality and Human Rights Commission, (ERC). Explanation. In the UK, individuals who face discrimination based on protected characteristics such as religion can file a complaint with the Equality and Human Rights Commission, (ERC), which promotes equality and enforces anti-discrimination laws. This action allows Mrs. Cooper to seek legal recourse and address the discrimination through formal channels, ensuring her rights are protected and promoting a fair and inclusive society. Options A, C, and D are incorrect because they do not promote constructive resolution or adherence to legal frameworks for addressing discrimination. Question 53. What is the significance of the UK's legal system being based on both common law and statute law? A. It allows judges to make laws independently without parliamentary oversight. B. It ensures consistency and flexibility in adapting to societal changes. C. It restricts access to legal rights based on individual socioeconomic status. D. It favors adherence to traditional customs over modern legal principles. Correct answer. B. It ensures consistency and flexibility in adapting to societal changes. Explanation. The UK's legal system is based on both common law, case law developed by judges, and statute law, laws enacted by Parliament. This dual system ensures that legal decisions are based on precedent and established principles, common law, while also allowing Parliament to enact laws to address new or evolving societal issues, statute law. This approach provides consistency in legal principles while also allowing flexibility to adapt to changing circumstances and values within society. Question 54. What is the significance of the concept of individual liberty in the UK? A. It grants individuals the right to impose their beliefs on others forcefully. B. It ensures that individuals have the freedom to express their opinions without censorship. C. It limits access to legal rights based on an individual's political affiliation. D. It allows the government to control and regulate personal religious practices. Correct answer. B. It ensures that individuals have the freedom to express their opinions without censorship. Explanation. Individual liberty in the UK emphasizes the rights of individuals to express their opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints freely without fear of censorship or interference from the government or other entities. This principle is fundamental to democratic societies and is protected under human rights legislation. Question 55. What role does the Prime Minister play in the UK government? A. Serving as the ceremonial head of state and conducting diplomatic affairs. B. Overseeing the House of Commons and the House of Lords. C. Leading the executive branch and making policy decisions. D. Interpreting laws and resolving disputes in the judicial system. Correct answer. C. Leading the executive branch and making policy decisions. Explanation. The Prime Minister in the UK government is the head of the executive branch and is responsible for leading the government, making policy decisions, and overseeing the implementation of laws and public policies. The Prime Minister is also the leader of the political party that holds the majority in the House of Commons. Question 56. Scenario: Ms. Jones, a UK citizen, is passionate about environmental sustainability and wants to contribute to policy discussions. How can she effectively engage in advocating for environmental issues within her community? A. Avoid discussing controversial topics to prevent disagreements. B. Research local environmental issues and propose solutions based on evidence. C. Criticize individuals who hold different viewpoints to assert her stance forcefully. D. Ignore local environmental concerns and focus on global issues instead. Correct answer. B. Research local environmental issues and propose solutions based on evidence. Explanation. To effectively advocate for environmental issues in her community, Ms. Jones should research local environmental challenges, gather evidence-based information, and propose practical solutions that address specific community needs. This approach demonstrates informed advocacy and promotes constructive dialogue among stakeholders. Question 57. What is the significance of the principle of rule of law in the UK legal system? A. It allows government officials to disregard legal norms for expediency. B. It ensures that laws apply equally to all individuals and institutions. C. It favors selective enforcement of laws based on political affiliations. D. It grants immunity from prosecution to certain privileged groups. Correct answer. B. It ensures that laws apply equally to all individuals and institutions. Explanation. The principle of rule of law in the UK legal system ensures that laws are applied uniformly and consistently to all individuals, regardless of their status, background, or affiliations. This principle promotes fairness, transparency, and accountability within the legal framework, safeguarding against arbitrary use of power and ensuring justice for all. Question 58. In the context of UK citizenship, what are some examples of civic responsibilities? A. Paying taxes and obeying traffic laws. B. Attending religious ceremonies and festivals. C. Participating in political protests and demonstrations. D. Volunteering in the community and voting in elections. Correct answer. D. Volunteering in the community and voting in elections. Explanation. Civic responsibilities in the context of UK citizenship include active participation in civic life through activities such as volunteering in community organizations, engaging in public service initiatives, and exercising the right to vote in local and national elections. These actions contribute to the well-being of society and ensure that citizens play an active role in shaping their communities and governance. Question 59. Scenario: Mr. Davis, a UK citizen, is concerned about the impact of fake news on public discourse. What steps can he take to promote media literacy and combat misinformation effectively? A. Share unverified news articles to raise awareness among friends and family. B. Educate himself and others about reliable news sources and fact-checking methods. C. Ignore instances of fake news to avoid controversy and conflict. D. Criticize journalists and media organizations for reporting diverse viewpoints. Correct answer. B. Educate himself and others about reliable news sources and fact-checking methods. Explanation. To promote media literacy and combat misinformation, Mr. Davis should educate himself and others about identifying reliable news sources, verifying information through fact-checking methods, and critically evaluating content before sharing or reacting to it. This approach helps individuals make informed decisions and reduces the spread of false information, contributing to a more informed and resilient public discourse. Question 60. What are the key components of the UK legal system? A. Judiciary, military, and monarchy. B. Parliament, Prime Minister, and Cabinet. C. Courts, judges, and legal professionals. D. Police, prosecutors, and prisons. Correct answer. C. Courts, judges, and legal professionals. Explanation. The key components of the UK legal system include courts where legal disputes are resolved, judges who interpret and apply the law, and legal professionals such as solicitors and barristers who represent clients in legal matters. These components work together to uphold the rule of law, administer justice, and protect individual rights within the legal framework of the UK. Question 61. Scenario: Ms. Roberts, a UK citizen, witnesses a hate crime in her neighborhood. What action should she take to support the victim and address the incident effectively? A. Report the incident to local law enforcement and provide necessary information. B. Ignore the incident to prevent personal involvement and conflict. C. Confront the perpetrator directly to discourage future hate crimes. D. Spread rumors about the incident to raise community awareness. Correct answer. A. Report the incident to local law enforcement and provide necessary information. Explanation. To support the victim of a hate crime and address the incident effectively, the Miss Roberts should report the incident to local law enforcement authorities, providing accurate and detailed information to facilitate an investigation. Reporting ensures that the incident is documented, appropriate actions are taken to protect the victim, and perpetrators are held accountable under the law. Question 62. What role does the House of Lords play in the UK Parliament? A. Representing the interests of specific constituencies and their constituents. B. Making and passing legislation proposed by the government. C. Reviewing and revising legislation proposed by the House of Commons. D. Overseeing the enforcement of laws and judicial proceedings. Correct answer. C. Reviewing and revising legislation proposed by the House of Commons. Explanation. The House of Lords in the UK Parliament serves as the upper chamber and plays a role in reviewing and revising legislation proposed by the House of Commons, provides scrutiny and expertise in debating bills, suggesting amendments, and ensuring that proposed laws are thoroughly examined before they are passed. Question 63. What is the role of the judiciary in upholding the rule of law in the UK? A. Enforcing government policies and regulations. B. Interpreting laws and resolving legal disputes impartially. C. Implementing foreign policy and international treaties. D. Conducting investigations and gathering evidence. Question 63. What is the role of the judiciary in upholding the rule of law in the UK? A. Enforcing government policies and regulations. B. Interpreting laws and resolving legal disputes impartially. C. Implementing foreign policy and international treaties. D. Conducting investigations and gathering evidence. Question 64. Scenario. Mr. Khan, a UK citizen, is interested in running for local office. What steps should he take to prepare for his candidacy and contribute effectively to local governance? A. Form a political party and recruit supporters to increase his influence. B. Develop a campaign platform based on community issues and concerns. C. Avoid engaging in public debates to prevent disagreements with opponents. D. Seek endorsements from international organizations to gain credibility. Correct answer. B. Develop a campaign platform based on community issues and concerns. Explanation. To prepare for candidacy and contribute effectively to local governance, Mr. Khan should develop a campaign platform that addresses relevant community issues and concerns. This involves researching local needs, engaging with constituents to understand their priorities, and proposing policies and solutions that reflect community interests. Question 65. In the context of UK citizenship, what is the significance of freedom of expression? A. It allows individuals to incite violence against others. B. It protects individuals' right to express opinions and ideas freely. C. It restricts access to information deemed sensitive by the government. D. It requires individuals to conform to government-approved speech. Correct answer. B. It protects individuals' right to express opinions and ideas freely. Explanation. Freedom of expression in the context of UK citizenship protects individuals' rights to express their opinions, beliefs, and ideas freely without censorship or fear of government reprisal. This fundamental right promotes open dialogue, public debate, and the exchange of diverse viewpoints essential to democratic societies. Question 66. What role does the monarchy play in the UK government today? A. Enacting laws and overseeing their implementation. B. Serving as a ceremonial figurehead and symbol of national unity. C. Leading diplomatic missions and international negotiations. D. Managing the day-to-day operations of government departments. Correct answer. B. Serving as a ceremonial figurehead and symbol of national unity. Explanation. In the UK government today, the monarchy primarily serves as a ceremonial figurehead and symbol of national unity. The monarch performs ceremonial duties, such as the state opening of Parliament, and represents the continuity of the state. While the monarch has constitutional roles such as granting royal assent to legislation, the day-to-day governance and lawmaking are carried out by elected representatives and government officials. Question 67. Scenario. Miss Tell, a UK citizen, is concerned about the rise of extremism in her community. What actions can she take to promote tolerance and community cohesion effectively? A. Isolate herself from individuals holding different beliefs to avoid conflict. B. Engage in respectful dialogue with community members of diverse backgrounds. C. Report individuals with different beliefs to law enforcement for monitoring. D. Organize protests to silence individuals expressing extremist views. Correct answer. B. Engage in respectful dialogue with community members of diverse backgrounds. Explanation. To promote tolerance and community cohesion in response to concerns about extremism. TUS should engage in respectful dialogue with community members of diverse backgrounds. Open communication fosters understanding, builds trust, and encourages cooperation among individuals with differing beliefs or viewpoints. Question 60. What is the significance of the UX multiculturalism and diversity in shaping its society? A. It encourages segregation and exclusion based on cultural differences. B. It promotes integration and understanding among diverse communities. C. It restricts access to citizenship rights based on ethnic backgrounds. D. It prioritizes assimilation into a dominant cultural norm. Correct answer. B. It promotes integration and understanding among diverse communities. Explanation. The UX multiculturalism and diversity promote integration, mutual respect, and understanding among diverse communities. Embracing cultural diversity enriches society by fostering tolerance, celebrating cultural heritage, and promoting social cohesion. Option. It describes segregation. Option C describes discrimination, and option D describes assimilation, all of which are contrary to the principles of multiculturalism and diversity that aim to create inclusive and cohesive societies. Question 69. What are the responsibilities of UK citizens in upholding democratic principles, obeying government orders without question to maintain order? B. Participating in civic activities and contributing to community welfare. C. Criticizing government policies to destabilize political stability. D. Avoiding political engagement to prevent controversies. Correct answer. B. Participating in civic activities and contributing to community welfare. Explanation. UK citizens uphold democratic principles by actively participating in civic activities such as voting in elections, volunteering in community projects, and engaging in public discourse on important issues. These actions contribute to the functioning of democracy, promote accountability among elected officials, and strengthen social cohesion. Question 70. Scenario: Mr. Thompson, a UK citizen, is preparing to serve on a jury for the first time. What responsibilities does he have as a juror? A. Advocating for the defendant's guilt or innocence based on personal beliefs. B. Listening to evidence presented in court and reaching a fair and impartial verdict. C. Influencing other jurors to disregard legal guidelines and procedural rules. D. Refusing to participate in jury deliberations to avoid making difficult decisions. Correct answer. B. Listening to evidence presented in court and reaching a fair and impartial verdict. Explanation. As a juror, Mr. Thompson's responsibilities include listening attentively to evidence presented during the trial, carefully considering the facts, applying the law as instructed by the judge, and reaching a fair and impartial verdict based on the evidence presented in court. Jurors play a crucial role in the justice system by ensuring that decisions are made objectively and in accordance with legal standards. Question 71. What role do political parties play in the UK electoral system? A. Enforcing laws and regulations to maintain electoral integrity. B. Representing the interests of specific constituencies and promoting policies. C. Controlling judicial proceedings and overseeing legal reforms. D. Administering public services and managing government departments. Correct answer. B. Representing the interests of specific constituencies and promoting policies. Explanation. Political parties in the UK electoral system play a key role in representing the interests of specific constituencies, promoting policies, and offering alternative visions for governance. They engage in campaigning, mobilizing voters, and nominating candidates for elections, influencing public opinion and shaping the political agenda. Question 72. What is the significance of the UX constitutional monarchy? A. It allows the monarch to make unilateral decisions without parliamentary approval. B. It ensures stability and continuity in the state while upholding democratic principles. C. It grants absolute power to the monarch to override parliamentary legislation. D. It excludes the monarch from ceremonial duties and public engagements. Correct answer. B. It ensures stability and continuity in the state while upholding democratic principles. Explanation. The UK's constitutional monarchy provides stability and continuity in the state by establishing a system where the monarch's powers are largely ceremonial and symbolic, while actual governance and decision-making are carried out by elected representatives and institutions. This system helps maintain democratic principles such as accountability and the rule of law, while preserving historical and cultural traditions. Question 73. Scenario: Miss Taylor, a UK citizen, wants to exercise her right to freedom of religion. What protections does UK law provide for religious freedom? A. Allowing discrimination against individuals based on their religious beliefs. B. Prohibiting public worship and religious practices. C. Protecting individuals from discrimination based on their religion or belief. D. Mandating compulsory participation in religious ceremonies. Correct answer. C. Protecting individuals from discrimination based on their religion or belief. Explanation. UK law protects individuals' rights to freedom of religion or belief by prohibiting discrimination based on religious beliefs or practices. This protection ensures that individuals can practice their faith freely, participate in religious ceremonies, and express their beliefs without fear of persecution or discrimination. Options A, B, and D describe restrictions or actions that are contrary to religious freedom protections guaranteed by UK law. Question 74. What are the responsibilities of the Prime Minister in relation to the UK Parliament? A. Overseeing the judicial system and appointing judges. B. Implementing foreign policy and conducting international negotiations. C. Leading the government, making policy decisions, and answering to Parliament. D. Representing the UK in ceremonial and state functions. Correct answer. C. Leading the government, making policy decisions, and answering to Parliament. Explanation. The Prime Minister in the UK leads the government, makes policy decisions, and is accountable to Parliament for government actions and policies. The Prime Minister is also responsible for representing the UK in international affairs, but their primary role is to lead the executive branch, oversee government operations, and ensure the implementation of policies approved by Parliament. Question 75. What role does the House of Commons play in the UK Parliament? A. Reviewing and revising legislation proposed by the House of Lords. B. Advising the monarch on matters of national importance. C. Serving as the primary legislative body and representing constituencies. D. Overseeing the enforcement of laws and judicial proceedings. Correct answer. C. Serving as the primary legislative body and representing constituencies. Explanation. The House of Commons in the UK Parliament serves as the primary legislative body where elected members of Parliament, MPs, debate, propose, and pass laws. MPs represent constituencies across the UK and play a key role in scrutinizing government policies, proposing amendments to legislation, and holding the government accountable through parliamentary inquiries and debates. Question 76. Scenario: Mr. Walker, a UK citizen, is concerned about the impact of poverty in his local community. How can he contribute to addressing social issues effectively? A. Blame government policies for the issues without offering solutions. B. Volunteer time and resources to support local charities and organizations. C. Ignore the issues to avoid personal involvement and conflict. D. Organize protests to demand immediate government action. Correct answer. B. Volunteer time and resources to support local charities and organizations. Explanation. To address social issues such as poverty effectively, Mr. Walker can contribute by volunteering his time and resources to support local charities, organizations, and community initiatives. Volunteering promotes community engagement, provides direct assistance to those in need, and contributes to long-term solutions through collective action and collaboration. Question 77. What are the responsibilities of UK citizens regarding their participation in elections? A. Ignoring voting rights to avoid engaging in political activities. B. Registering to vote and casting their ballots in local and national elections. C. Discouraging others from participating in electoral processes. D. Voting only for candidates who promise personal financial benefits. Correct answer. B. Registering to vote and casting their ballots in local and national elections. Explanation. UK citizens have a responsibility to participate in elections by registering to vote and casting their ballots in local and national elections. Voting is a fundamental right and civic duty that allows citizens to influence government decisions, choose representatives who reflect their values and priorities, and hold elected officials accountable. Options A, C, and D describe behaviors that discourage or misrepresent responsible civic engagement in electoral processes. Question 78. What are the fundamental principles of democracy in the UK? A. Centralized decision-making and authoritative rule. B. Citizen participation, equality, and accountability. C. Exclusion of minority groups from political processes. D. Imposition of restrictions on freedom of speech. Correct answer. B. Ceremonial role of the monarch with limited political influence. Explanation. The UK's constitutional monarchy features a monarch who holds a ceremonial role, representing continuity and tradition in the state, but with limited political power. The monarch's role is largely symbolic, involving state functions, ceremonies, a constitutional duty to advise and warn rather than making independent political decisions. Question 79. Scenario: Miss Davies, a UK citizen, is concerned about environmental sustainability. How can she contribute to promoting sustainable practices effectively? A. Avoid discussing environmental issues to prevent controversy. B. Support policies and initiatives that protect natural resources. C. Ignore personal consumption habits and their environmental impact. D. Criticize individuals advocating for sustainable development. Correct answer. B. Support policies and initiatives that protect natural resources. Explanation. Ms. Davies can contribute to promoting environmental sustainability by supporting policies and initiatives that protect natural resources, reduce pollution, and promote sustainable development practices. By advocating for environmental conservation, recycling, and reducing carbon footprints, individuals can influence collective efforts towards a more sustainable future. Question 80. What is the significance of the UK's human rights legislation? A. It restricts freedoms and imposes censorship on public expression. B. It ensures that all individuals are treated equally under the law. C. It permits discrimination against minority groups based on ethnicity. D. It favors preferential treatment for certain privileged individuals. Correct answer. B. It ensures that all individuals are treated equally under the law. Explanation. The UK's human rights legislation ensures that all individuals are entitled to fundamental rights and freedoms, including equality before the law, freedom of expression, and protection against discrimination. These laws uphold human dignity, promote social justice, and provide legal recourse for individuals whose rights are violated. Question 81. What role does freedom of the press play in the UK's democratic society? A. Restricting access to information deemed sensitive by the government. B. Allowing journalists to report impartially on matters of public interest. C. Silencing dissenting voices and controlling public discourse. D. Promoting biased reporting and misinformation. Correct answer. B. Allowing journalists to report impartially on matters of public interest. Explanation. Freedom of the press in the UK ensures that journalists can report impartially on matters of public interest without censorship or interference. This freedom promotes transparency, accountability, and informed public debate, essential for a functioning democracy. It allows citizens to access diverse viewpoints and hold authorities accountable for their actions. Options A, C, and D describe actions or consequences that undermine freedom of the press and are not consistent with its role in a democratic society. Question 82. Scenario: Mr. Jackson, a UK citizen, is interested in volunteering for a local community project. How can he contribute effectively to community development? A. Avoid engaging with diverse community members to prevent conflicts. B. Volunteer time and skills to support local initiatives and activities. C. Criticize existing community efforts without offering alternative solutions. D. Organize protests against community leaders to demand immediate changes. Correct answer. B. Volunteer time and skills to support local initiatives and activities. Explanation. Mr. Jackson can contribute effectively to community development by volunteering his time and skills to support local initiatives such as community projects, charity organizations, or neighborhood improvement programs. Volunteering fosters community engagement, strengthens social bonds, and addresses local needs through collective action and cooperation. Question 83. What is the significance of the UC's commitment to the rule of law? A. Allowing government officials to act outside legal frameworks. B. Ensuring equality and justice for all individuals under the law. C. Exempting certain groups from legal obligations based on social status. D. Permitting arbitrary detention and punishment without due process. Correct answer. B. Ensuring equality and justice for all individuals under the law. Explanation. The UC's commitment to the rule of law ensures that all individuals, regardless of status or background, are subject to and protected by the law. This principle promotes equality, justice, and fairness in legal proceedings, safeguards individual rights, and holds government authorities accountable for their actions. Question 84. What is the role of the House of Lords in the UK Parliament? A. Serving as the primary legislative body responsible for passing laws. B. Representing the interests of specific constituencies and voting on policies. C. Reviewing and revising legislation proposed by the House of Commons. D. Overseeing the enforcement of judicial decisions and legal reforms. Question 84. What is the role of the House of Lords in the UK Parliament? A. Serving as the primary legislative body responsible for passing laws. B. Representing the interests of specific constituencies and voting on policies. C. Reviewing and revising legislation proposed by the House of Commons. D. Overseeing the enforcement of judicial decisions and legal reforms. Question 85. Scenario. Ms. Roberts, a UK citizen, is concerned about gender equality in her workplace. What actions can she take to promote equality effectively? A. Ignore instances of discrimination to avoid conflict with colleagues. B. Advocate for policies that promote equal pay and opportunities for all employees. C. Discriminate against male colleagues to assert female dominance. D. Avoid discussing gender-related issues to prevent controversy. Correct answer. B. Advocate for policies that promote equal pay and opportunities for all employees. Explanation. Ms. Roberts can promote gender equality in her workplace by advocating for policies that ensure equal pay, opportunities, and fair treatment for all employees, regardless of gender. She can also raise awareness about gender-related issues, participate in diversity and inclusion initiatives, and support efforts to create a more inclusive work environment. Correct answer. B. Advocate for policies that promote equal pay and opportunities for all employees. Explanation. Ms. Roberts can promote gender equality in her workplace by advocating for policies that ensure equal pay, opportunities, and fair treatment for all employees, regardless of gender. She can also raise awareness about gender-related issues, participate in diversity and inclusion initiatives, and support efforts to create a more inclusive work environment. Correct answer. B. Right to freedom of speech and expression. Explanation. The European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR, adopted by the UK, protects fundamental rights such as the right to freedom of speech and expression. This includes the right to hold opinions and receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority. The CHR safeguards a range of other rights, including the right to life, prohibition of torture, and protection of property. Question 87. What is the significance of judicial independence in the UK legal system? A. Allowing political interference in court decisions. B. Ensuring judges can make decisions impartially and without influence. C. Limiting access to legal representation for marginalized groups. D. Allowing judges to override parliamentary legislation. Correct answer. B. Ensuring judges can make decisions impartially and without influence. Explanation. Judicial independence in the UK legal system ensures that judges can make decisions impartially, based on law and evidence, without interference from the government or other external influences. This principle is essential for upholding the rule of law, protecting individual rights, and maintaining public trust in the judiciary. Question 88. Scenario. Mr. Harris, A UK citizen wants to exercise his right to freedom of assembly. What protections does UK law provide for peaceful protests? A. Prohibiting all forms of public gatherings to prevent disorder. B. Allowing peaceful demonstrations and protests with appropriate permissions. C. Requiring protesters to obtain government approval before assembling. D. Permitting authorities to use force to disperse peaceful assemblies. Correct answer. B. Allowing peaceful demonstrations and protests with appropriate permissions. Explanation. UK law protects the right to freedom of assembly and peaceful protest, allowing individuals to gather and express their views in public spaces as long as the assembly is peaceful and does not disrupt public order. While certain regulations may require notification or permissions for large gatherings, the right to peaceful protest is generally respected under UK law. Question 89. What are the responsibilities of UK citizens in promoting tolerance and respect for diversity? A. Excluding individuals with different beliefs to maintain social cohesion. B. Engaging in dialogue and respecting diverse viewpoints and cultures. C. Discriminating against minority groups based on cultural differences. D. Avoiding discussions on sensitive topics to prevent disagreements. Correct answer. B. Engaging in dialogue and respecting diverse viewpoints and cultures. Explanation. UK citizens have a responsibility to promote tolerance and respect for diversity by engaging in dialogue, respecting different viewpoints, and embracing cultural diversity. This includes challenging stereotypes, supporting inclusive practices, and advocating for policies that protect the rights of all individuals. Question 90. What are the key features of the UK's constitutional monarchy? A. Absolute power vested in the monarch to make laws independently. B. Ceremonial role of the monarch with limited political influence. C. Monarch's authority to dissolve parliament at will. D. Monarch's control over the judiciary and legal system. Correct answer. B. Ceremonial role of the monarch with limited political influence. Explanation. The UK's constitutional monarchy features a monarch who holds a ceremonial role, representing continuity and tradition in the state, but with limited political power. The monarch's role is largely symbolic, involving state functions, ceremonies, and a constitutional duty to advise and W. Question 91. Scenario. Mr. Thompson, a UK citizen, wishes to start a petition to advocate for a change in local government policies. What steps can he take to initiate this process effectively? A. Gather signatures only from individuals who agree with his viewpoint. B. Circulate the petition in public places without identifying its purpose. C. Create an online petition and gather signatures from eligible voters. D. Ignore legal requirements and directly submit the petition to Parliament. Correct answer. C. Create an online petition and gather signatures from eligible voters. Explanation. Mr. Thompson can initiate the process effectively by creating an online petition and gathering signatures from eligible voters who support his cause. Online petitions provide a platform for citizens to express their views and engage in democratic processes. This method ensures transparency, accessibility, and compliance with legal requirements for petitions submitted to Parliament or local authorities. Question 92. What is the significance of the UK's commitment to the rule of law in a democratic society? A. Allowing government officials to act above the law in times of crisis. B. Ensuring equal treatment and justice for all individuals under the law. C. Exempting certain groups from legal obligations based on social status. D. Permitting arbitrary detention and punishment without due process. Correct answer. B. Ensuring equal treatment and justice for all individuals under the law. Explanation. The UK's commitment to the rule of law ensures that all individuals are treated equally and fairly under the legal system, regardless of their background or status. It prevents arbitrary exercise of power, protects individual rights, and upholds legal principles essential for a democratic society. Question 93. What are the key principles of common law in the UK legal system, and how do they differ from statute law? The common law is based on judicial decisions and precedents, while statute law is derived from written legislation passed by Parliament. B. Common law relies on religious doctrines, whereas statute law is secular in nature. C. Common law emphasizes the authority of the monarch, while statute law favors democratic principles. D. Common law is exclusively concerned with criminal cases, while statute law governs civil disputes. Correct answer. A common law is based on judicial decisions and precedents, while statute law is derived from written legislation passed by Parliament. Explanation. Common law in the UK legal system is based on judicial decisions and precedents established by courts over time. It evolves through the application of legal principles to individual cases. In contrast, statute law derives from written legislation enacted by Parliament and applies uniformly across the country. Common law allows flexibility and adaptation to changing societal norms, while statute law provides clarity and consistency in legal rules. Question 94. Scenario: Mr. Adams, a UK citizen, is accused of committing a serious crime. Describe the steps involved in the criminal trial process in the UK, emphasizing procedural fairness and legal rights. A. Summarize the case details without presenting evidence in court. B. Discuss the defendant's guilt or innocence without legal representation. C. Conduct a trial with a judge, jury, and legal representation for both sides. D. Dismiss the case without a thorough examination of witness testimonies. Correct answer. C. Conduct a trial with a judge, jury, and legal representation for both sides. Explanation. In the UK, a criminal trial involves procedural steps to ensure fairness and protect legal rights. This includes presenting evidence, examining witnesses, and allowing both the prosecution and defense to present their case before a judge and jury in serious cases. Legal representation ensures that the defendant's rights are safeguarded throughout the trial process. Question 95. What are the key differences between direct democracy and representative democracy, and how do they manifest in the UK political system? A. Direct democracy relies on appointed representatives, while representative democracy involves direct participation of citizens in decision-making. B. Direct democracy allows citizens to vote on policies directly, while representative democracy elects officials to make decisions on behalf of constituents. C. Direct democracy favors autocratic governance, while representative democracy promotes participatory democracy. D. Direct democracy excludes minority opinions, while representative democracy ensures equal representation of all viewpoints. Correct answer. B. Direct democracy allows citizens to vote on policies directly, while representative democracy elects officials to make decisions on behalf of constituents. Explanation. Direct democracy involves direct participation of citizens in decision-making through initiatives, referendums, or plebiscites. In contrast, representative democracy elects officials who make decisions on behalf of constituents based on their preferences and interests. In the UK, decisions are primarily made through representative democracy, where members of Parliament, MPs, represent their constituencies and make legislative decisions in Parliament. Question 96. Discuss the concept of devolution in the UK. What are its objectives, and how does it impact the governance structure of the UK? A. Devolution centralizes power at the national level, reducing local autonomy. B. Devolution aims to decentralize power, granting regional governments authority over specific policy areas. C. Devolution excludes minority groups from participating in decision-making processes. D. Devolution abolishes regional identities, promoting national unity. Correct answer. B. Devolution aims to decentralize power, granting regional governments authority over specific policy areas. Explanation. Devolution in the UK refers to the transfer of certain powers and responsibilities from the central government to regional governments such as the Scottish Parliament, the Senate in Wales, and the Northern Ireland Assembly. Its objectives include promoting regional autonomy, responding to local needs, and enhancing democratic accountability. Devolution allows regions to legislate on specific policy areas while maintaining UK-wide policies in others. Question 97. What is the principle of collective responsibility in the context of the UK government, and how does it function within the Cabinet? A. Collective responsibility requires all Cabinet members to act independently without consulting the Prime Minister. B. Collective responsibility ensures that Cabinet decisions are made by consensus, with no dissenting opinions allowed. C. Collective responsibility obligates Cabinet members to publicly support government policies, even if they privately disagree. D. Collective responsibility mandates that Cabinet members prioritize their personal agendas over national interests. Correct answer. C. Collective responsibility obligates Cabinet members to publicly support government policies, even if they privately disagree. Explanation. Collective responsibility. In the UK government requires that all cabinet members publicly support government policies once they are agreed upon in cabinet meetings, even if they initially had different opinions or reservations. This principle ensures unity and solidarity within the government, presenting a cohesive front to the public and Parliament. Dissenting opinions can be expressed privately within cabinet meetings but must not be publicly disclosed. Question 98. Explain the concept of judicial review in the UK legal system. What role does it play in ensuring accountability and upholding the rule of law? A. Judicial review allows judges to create new laws independently of Parliament. B. Judicial review enables judges to review the legality of government actions and decisions. C. Judicial review grants judges the power to override parliamentary legislation. D. Judicial review restricts access to legal representation for disadvantaged groups. Correct answer. B. Judicial review enables judges to review the legality of government actions and decisions. Explanation. Judicial review in the UK legal system allows judges to review the lawfulness of decisions made by public authorities, ensuring they comply with legal standards and principles. It holds government actions accountable, protects individual rights, and upholds the rule of law by preventing the abuse of power. Question 99. Discuss the concept of parliamentary sovereignty in the UK. What does it mean, and how does it impact the legislative process? A. Parliamentary sovereignty limits the authority of Parliament to enact laws independently. B. Parliamentary sovereignty allows courts to overrule parliamentary legislation. C. Parliamentary sovereignty means that Parliament is the supreme legal authority, capable of making or repealing any law. D. Parliamentary sovereignty favors executive authority over legislative decision-making. Correct answer. C. Parliamentary sovereignty means that Parliament is the supreme legal authority, capable of making or repealing any law. Explanation. Parliamentary sovereignty in the UK asserts that Parliament has the ultimate legal authority to make or repeal any law, without limitation by previous parliaments or external authorities. This principle ensures that Parliament's decisions are binding and cannot be overruled by other branches of government or external entities. Question 100. What are the responsibilities of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament? How does it differ from the role of the House of Lords? A. The House of Commons represents regional interests, while the House of Lords represents national concerns. B. The House of Commons initiates and debates legislation, while the House of Lords reviews and suggests amendments. C. The House of Commons oversees judicial appointments, while the House of Lords manages government finances. D. The House of Commons appoints the Prime Minister, while the House of Lords appoints cabinet members. Correct answer. B. The House of Commons initiates and debates legislation, while the House of Lords reviews and suggests amendments. Explanation. The House of Commons in the UK Parliament is responsible for initiating and debating legislation, representing the interests of constituents, and scrutinising government actions. It consists of elected members of Parliament, MPs, who represent geographical constituencies. In contrast, the House of Lords reviews and suggests amendments to legislation proposed by the House of Commons, drawing on expertise and experience in various fields. Question 101. Explain the concept of a parliamentary privilege in the UK context. What is its purpose, and how does it impact the legislative process? A parliamentary privilege allows MPs to evade legal consequences for criminal acts committed during parliamentary sessions. B. Parliamentary privilege protects MPs from defamation lawsuits when making statements in Parliament. C. Parliamentary privilege grants MPs immunity from tax obligations imposed on ordinary citizens. D. Parliamentary privilege permits MPs to bypass voting requirements during crucial legislative debates. Correct answer. B. Parliamentary privilege protects MPs from defamation lawsuits when making statements in Parliament. Explanation. Parliamentary privilege in the UK provides legal immunity to members of Parliament, MPs, from civil or criminal liability for statements made in Parliament. This ensures that MPs can speak freely and fearlessly during debates without the risk of facing defamation lawsuits. It is essential for upholding freedom of speech and enabling effective parliamentary scrutiny of government actions. Question 102. What role does the Electoral Commission play in the UK's electoral process? How does it ensure fairness and transparency in elections? A. The Electoral Commission supervises media coverage of election campaigns to ensure impartiality. B. The Electoral Commission regulates campaign financing and monitors compliance with election laws. C. The Electoral Commission appoints election candidates based on their political affiliations. D. The Electoral Commission guarantees victory for incumbent political parties in every election. Correct answer. B. The Electoral Commission regulates campaign financing and monitors compliance with election laws. Explanation. The Electoral Commission in the UK oversees elections and referendums, ensuring fairness, transparency, and compliance with electoral laws. It regulates campaign financing, conducts voter education initiatives, and maintains the electoral register. By enforcing rules on political donations and spending, the Electoral Commission prevents undue influence in elections and promotes public trust in the democratic process. Question 103. Discuss the impact of the Human Rights Act 1998 on the protection of individual rights in the UK legal system. What mechanisms does it provide for addressing human rights violations? A. The Human Rights Act 1998 grants absolute immunity to government officials accused of human rights violations. B. The Human Rights Act 1998 incorporates the European Convention on Human Rights into UK law, allowing individuals to seek redress in domestic courts. C. The Human Rights Act 1998 restricts freedom of expression to prevent offensive speech in public forums. D. The Human Rights Act 1998 excludes certain minority groups from legal protections based on cultural differences. Correct answer. B. The Human Rights Act 1998 incorporates the European Convention on Human Rights into UK law, allowing individuals to seek redress in domestic courts. Explanation. The Human Rights Act 1998 incorporates the rights enshrined in the European Convention on Human Rights (ECHR) into UK law, enabling individuals to bring human rights claims before domestic courts. It requires public authorities to act in a manner consistent with convention rights and provides mechanisms for individuals to seek redress if their rights are violated by public bodies. Question 104. Explain the concept of judicial activism in the context of the UK legal system. What are its implications for judicial independence and the rule of law? A. Judicial activism encourages judges to overturn parliamentary legislation without legal justification. B. Judicial activism promotes judicial restraint and deference to legislative decisions. C. Judicial activism involves judges interpreting laws broadly to uphold constitutional principles and protect individual rights. D. Judicial activism allows judges to intervene in political matters outside their jurisdiction. Correct answer. C. Judicial activism involves judges interpreting laws broadly to uphold constitutional principles and protect individual rights. Explanation. Judicial activism refers to judges interpreting laws broadly or creatively to advance public policy goals, uphold constitutional principles, or protect individual rights. It involves a proactive approach by judges in interpreting and applying the law to address societal issues or injustices. Judicial activism can impact judicial independence by influencing public perception of the judiciary's role and its interaction with other branches of government. Question 105. What are the legal implications of the UK's withdrawal from the European Union, Brexit, on immigration policies and rights of EU citizens residing in the UK? A. Brexit grants EU citizens unrestricted access to UK welfare benefits and social services. B. Brexit limits the rights of EU citizens to live, work, and study in the UK under existing EU laws. C. Brexit allows UK citizens to freely travel and settle in EU member states without visa requirements. D. Brexit excludes EU citizens from participating in UK parliamentary elections. Correct answer. B. Brexit limits the rights of EU citizens to live, work, and study in the UK under existing EU laws. Explanation. Brexit has resulted in changes to immigration policies, affecting the rights of EU citizens residing in the UK. While some rights are protected under the withdrawal agreement, EU citizens face new restrictions on their ability to live, work, and study in the UK compared to pre-Brexit arrangements. Question 106. Discuss the role of the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, in the UK criminal justice system. How does it contribute to the fair and effective prosecution of criminal cases? A. The CPS acts as defense counsel for accused individuals in criminal trials. B. The CPS prosecutes criminal cases on behalf of the state, ensuring impartiality and fairness. C. The CPS determines sentencing outcomes and penalties for convicted offenders. D. The CPS oversees civil litigation involving disputes between private individuals. Correct answer. B. The CPS prosecutes criminal cases on behalf of the state, ensuring impartiality and fairness. Explanation. The Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, in the UK is responsible for prosecuting criminal cases investigated by the police in England and Wales. It operates independently of the police and government, making prosecution decisions based on evidence and legal guidelines. The CPS aims to ensure impartiality, fairness, and transparency in the prosecution process, upholding the rule of law and protecting public interest. Question 107. Explain the concept of a public interest immunity, PI, in UK law. How does it balance the protection of sensitive information with the principles of open justice? PI allows government officials to withhold information from courts without justification. B. PI enables courts to review classified information in closed proceedings to protect national security. C. PI requires journalists to disclose confidential sources in legal proceedings. D. PI prohibits individuals from accessing public records maintained by government agencies. Correct answer. B. PI enables courts to review classified information in closed proceedings to protect national security. Explanation. Public interest immunity, PI, in UK law allows courts to withhold or restrict access to sensitive information during legal proceedings if its disclosure would harm national security, international relations, or other public interests. It balances the need to protect confidential information with the principles of open justice by enabling judges to review such information privately before making decisions on its relevance and admissibility in court. Question 108. Discuss the impact of the Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 on the UK's electoral system and political stability. What changes did it introduce, and how have they influenced the conduct of general elections? A. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 grants MPs lifetime appointments without facing re-election. B. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 allows the Prime Minister to call early elections at their discretion. C. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 introduced a fixed 5-year parliamentary term, reducing the Prime Minister's authority to dissolve Parliament. D. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 requires all MPs to undergo re-election every 2 years to ensure accountability. Correct answer. C. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 introduced a fixed 5-year parliamentary term, reducing the Prime Minister's authority to dissolve Parliament. Explanation. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 established a fixed 5-year parliamentary term, reducing the Prime Minister's discretionary power to dissolve Parliament and call early elections. It aimed to provide stability and predictability in the electoral process by setting specific conditions for early elections, such as a vote of no confidence or a 2/3 majority in Parliament. Correct answer. C. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 introduced a fixed 5-year parliamentary term, reducing the Prime Minister's authority to dissolve Parliament. Explanation. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011 established a fixed 5-year parliamentary term, reducing the Prime Minister's discretionary power to dissolve Parliament and call early elections. It aimed to provide stability and predictability in the electoral process by setting specific conditions for early elections, such as a vote of no confidence or a 2/3 majority in Parliament. Correct answer. B. Ultravirus enables individuals to challenge administrative decisions that exceed lawful authority or violate procedural fairness. Explanation. In administrative law, ultravirus enables individuals to challenge administrative decisions that exceed lawful authority or violate procedural fairness. Explanation. In administrative law, ultravirus refers to actions or decisions of public authorities that exceed their lawful powers or responsibilities. It enables individuals affected by such decisions to challenge their legality through judicial review, ensuring that administrative actions comply with legal standards and procedural fairness. Ultravirus principles help maintain accountability and prevent abuse of power by public authorities in the UK. Correct answer. B. Ultravirus enables individuals to challenge administrative decisions that exceed lawful authority or violate procedural fairness. Explanation. In administrative law, ultra vires refers to actions or decisions of public authorities that exceed their lawful powers or responsibilities. It enables individuals affected by such decisions to challenge their legality through judicial review, ensuring that administrative actions comply with legal standards and procedural fairness. Ultra vires principles help maintain accountability and prevent abuse of power by public authorities in the UK. Correct answer. B. Subsidiarity ensures that EU decisions are made at the lowest effective level of governance, respecting national sovereignty. Explanation. Subsidiarity in the EU context means that decisions should be made at the most local level possible, closer to the citizens affected rather than at the EU level. It emphasizes respecting the autonomy and sovereignty of member states while ensuring that EU actions are justified when they add value beyond what can be achieved at national, regional, or local levels. This principle aims to enhance democratic accountability and efficiency in EU governance. Question 111. Discuss the role of the Speaker of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament. What powers and responsibilities does the Speaker hold, and how do they facilitate parliamentary proceedings? A. The Speaker of the House of Commons serves as the head of state, representing the UK internationally. B. The Speaker of the House of Commons presides over parliamentary debates, maintaining order and impartiality. C. The Speaker of the House of Commons has veto power over legislation passed by Parliament. D. The Speaker of the House of Commons appoints government ministers and oversees their activities. Correct answer. B. The Speaker of the House of Commons presides over parliamentary debates, maintaining order and impartiality. Explanation. The Speaker of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament presides over debates, ensuring that parliamentary rules are followed, maintaining order, and giving MPs the opportunity to speak. The Speaker is impartial and does not participate in debates except to maintain order. They represent the House of Commons in its relations with the monarch, the Lords, and other authorities. Question 112. Explain the concept of constitutional conventions in the UK. How do they differ from legal rules? And what role do they play in the governance structure? A. Constitutional conventions are legally binding rules that cannot be altered by Parliament. B. Constitutional conventions are informal practices and traditions that guide the behavior of constitutional actors. C. Constitutional conventions grant the monarchy absolute power over legislative decisions. D. Constitutional conventions allow foreign governments to intervene in UK domestic affairs. Correct answer. B. Constitutional conventions are informal practices and traditions that guide the behavior of constitutional actors. Explanation. Constitutional conventions in the UK are unwritten practices and traditions that regulate the conduct of constitutional actors such as the monarch, Parliament, and government ministers. They are not legally enforceable but are crucial for the functioning of the Constitution, providing guidance on issues not covered by legal rules. Constitutional conventions ensure the smooth operation of the governance structure and maintain the balance of power between different institutions. Question 113. Discuss the concept of devolved administrations within the UK. What are their powers and how do they interact with the central government? A. Devolved administrations operate independently of the central government, making unilateral decisions on policy matters. B. Devolved administrations have legislative powers delegated by the central government, focusing on regional issues. C. Devolved administrations report directly to the monarchy, bypassing parliamentary oversight. D. Devolved administrations exclude minority groups from participating in local governance. Correct answer. B. Devolved administrations have legislative powers delegated by the central government, focusing on regional issues. Explanation. Devolved administrations in the UK, such as the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh Senate, have legislative powers granted by the central government to address regional issues while remaining part of the UK. They are responsible for areas like education, health, and transportation within their jurisdictions, operating within the framework set by the UK Parliament. Devolution aims to accommodate regional differences and enhance democratic representation, while the central government retains authority over reserved matters like defense and foreign affairs. Question 114. Explain the role of the UK Supreme Court in interpreting and upholding the rule of law. How does it ensure judicial independence and impartiality? A. The UK Supreme Court enforces government policies without judicial review. B. The UK Supreme Court reviews lower court decisions to ensure compliance with legislative directives. C. The UK Supreme Court interprets laws and resolves disputes independently of political influence. D. The UK Supreme Court excludes minority groups from participating in legal proceedings. Question 114. Explain the role of the UK Supreme Court in interpreting and upholding the rule of law. How does it ensure judicial independence and impartiality? A. The UK Supreme Court enforces government policies without judicial review. B. The UK Supreme Court reviews lower court decisions to ensure compliance with legislative directives. C. The UK Supreme Court interprets laws and resolves disputes independently of political influence. D. The UK Supreme Court excludes minority groups from participating in legal proceedings. Question 115. Discuss the principle of judicial independence in the context of the UK legal system. Why is it important, and how does it protect the rights of individuals? A. Judicial independence allows judges to accept bribes from litigants without legal consequences. B. Judicial independence ensures that judges make decisions based on law, free from external pressure or influence. C. Judicial independence requires judges to consult with government officials before issuing court rulings. D. Judicial independence permits judges to impose arbitrary penalties on defendants without due process. Correct answer. B. Judicial independence ensures that judges make decisions based on law, free from external pressure or influence. Explanation. Judicial independence in the UK legal system refers to the principle that judges should be free from interference or influence by the executive or legislative branches of government when adjudicating cases. It safeguards the impartiality and integrity of the judiciary, ensuring that judicial decisions are based solely on legal merit and constitutional principles. This protects the rights of individuals by upholding due process, fairness, and equality before the law. Question 116. Explain the concept of a parliamentary sovereignty in the context of the UK Constitution. How does it impact the relationship between Parliament and the judiciary? A. Parliamentary sovereignty allows the judiciary to override legislative decisions made by Parliament. B. Parliamentary sovereignty grants Parliament the ultimate legal authority to make or repeal any law. C. Parliamentary sovereignty prohibits Parliament from amending constitutional provisions without public referendum. D. Parliamentary sovereignty limits the authority of Parliament to enact laws related to social welfare. Question 116. Explain the concept of a parliamentary sovereignty in the context of the UK Constitution. How does it impact the relationship between Parliament and the judiciary? A. Parliamentary sovereignty allows the judiciary to override legislative decisions made by Parliament. B. Parliamentary sovereignty grants Parliament the ultimate legal authority to make or repeal any law. C. Parliamentary sovereignty prohibits Parliament from amending constitutional provisions without public referendum. D. Parliamentary sovereignty limits the authority of Parliament to enact laws related to social welfare. Question 118. Discuss the concept of the separation of powers in the UK political system. How does it contribute to the checks and balances between different branches of government? A. Separation of powers concentrates all governmental functions within a single branch of government. B. Separation of powers divides governmental authority among executive, legislative, and judicial branches. C. Separation of powers eliminates the need for constitutional checks and balances. D. Separation of powers excludes minority groups from participating in governmental decision-making. Correct answer. B. Separation of powers divides governmental authority among executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Explanation. The concept of separation of powers in the UK political system divides governmental authority among distinct branches: executive, legislative, parliament, and judicial courts. To prevent concentration of power and ensure checks and balances, each branch has specific functions and responsibilities that serve as a check on the others, promoting accountability, preventing abuse of power, and safeguarding individual rights. Question 119. Explain the concept of collective responsibility in the context of the UK government. How does it operate within the cabinet, and what are its implications for decision-making? A. Collective responsibility requires cabinet members to act independently from government policies. B. Collective responsibility allows cabinet members to publicly criticize government decisions without consequences. C. Collective responsibility mandates that all cabinet members publicly support government policies, even if they privately disagree. D. Collective responsibility permits cabinet members to leak confidential government information to the media. Question 119. Explain the concept of collective responsibility in the context of the UK government. How does it operate within the cabinet, and what are its implications for decision-making? A. Collective responsibility requires cabinet members to act independently from government policies. B. Collective responsibility allows cabinet members to publicly criticize government decisions without consequences. C. Collective responsibility mandates that all cabinet members publicly support government policies, even if they privately disagree. D. Collective responsibility permits cabinet members to leak confidential government information to the media. Question 120. Discuss the role of the House of Lords in the UK Parliament. How does it contribute to the legislative process and ensure scrutiny of government actions? A. The House of Lords has the exclusive authority to propose and pass primary legislation. B. The House of Lords reviews and revises legislation proposed by the House of Commons, offering expertise and independent scrutiny. C. The House of Lords appoints government ministers and oversees their activities. D. The House of Lords determines the budget and fiscal policies of the UK government. Correct answer. B. The House of Lords reviews and revises legislation proposed by the House of Commons, offering expertise and independent scrutiny. Explanation. The House of Lords in the UK Parliament acts as a revising chamber, reviewing legislation passed by the House of Commons. It provides expertise and independent scrutiny of proposed laws, offering insights and amendments to improve legislation before it becomes law. While it cannot initiate or permanently block legislation, the House of Lords plays a vital role in ensuring legislative quality and accountability. Question 121. Explain the principle of judicial review in the UK legal system. How does it contribute to the protection of individual rights and oversight of government actions? A. Judicial review allows judges to overturn parliamentary legislation without justification. B. Judicial review enables courts to review the legality of government actions and decisions, ensuring they comply with the law and uphold rights. C. Judicial review restricts access to legal remedies for individuals seeking redress against government abuses. D. Judicial review grants the judiciary authority over foreign affairs and international treaties. Correct answer. B. Judicial review enables courts to review the legality of government actions and decisions, ensuring they comply with the law and uphold rights. Explanation. Judicial review in the UK legal system allows courts to examine the lawfulness of decisions made by public authorities, ensuring they adhere to legal principles and respect individual rights. It serves as a check on governmental power, ensuring accountability and upholding the rule of law. Judicial review does not permit judges to overturn legislation. Instead, it focuses on ensuring that executive and legislative actions are within legal boundaries. Question 122. Discuss the impact of the UK's accession to the European Convention on Human Rights (ECHR) on the protection of human rights within the UK legal system. How does it influence domestic laws and judicial decisions? The CHR allows the UK government to suspend civil liberties during times of national emergency. B. The CHR obligates the UK government to comply with human rights standards outlined in the Convention. C. The CHR grants immunity to UK officials accused of human rights violations by international bodies. D. The CHR prohibits UK citizens from seeking redress for human rights abuses in European courts. Correct answer. B. The CHR obligates the UK government to comply with human rights standards outlined in the Convention. Explanation. The UK's accession to the European Convention on Human Rights (ECHR) requires the government to respect and protect fundamental rights and freedoms as set out in the Convention. It influences domestic laws by requiring compatibility with the CHR standards and allows individuals to seek redress for human rights violations in UK courts. The CHR enhances human rights protections within the UK legal system and ensures consistency with international standards. Question 123. Explain the role of the First Minister in Scotland. What powers and responsibilities does the First Minister hold, and how do they contribute to Scotland's governance? A. The First Minister in Scotland oversees the judiciary and ensures judicial independence. B. The First Minister in Scotland appoints members of the Scottish Parliament and Cabinet. C. The First Minister in Scotland represents Scotland internationally and negotiates treaties with foreign governments. D. The First Minister in Scotland leads the Scottish Government, sets policy priorities, and manages devolved responsibilities. Correct answer. D. The First Minister in Scotland leads the Scottish Government, sets policy priorities, and manages devolved responsibilities. Explanation. The First Minister in Scotland heads the Scottish Government, serving as the political leader responsible for setting policy priorities, managing devolved areas like health and education, and representing Scotland domestically and internationally. They are elected by the Scottish Parliament and appoint cabinet members to oversee specific policy areas. The role of the First Minister is central to Scotland's governance under devolution, ensuring effective administration and implementation of policies aligned with Scottish interests. Question 124. Discuss the role of the Advocate General for Scotland in the UK legal system. How does this position contribute to legal proceedings and constitutional matters? A. The Advocate General for Scotland oversees public prosecutions and criminal trials in Scotland. B. The Advocate General for Scotland represents the UK government in legal proceedings and advises on matters of Scots law. C. The Advocate General for Scotland reviews judicial decisions made by Scottish courts and intervenes in appellate cases. D. The Advocate General for Scotland appoints judges to the Scottish judiciary and oversees their activities. Correct answer. B. The Advocate General for Scotland represents the UK government in legal proceedings and advises on matters of Scots law. Explanation. The Advocate General for Scotland is a UK government law officer who represents the UK government in legal proceedings related to Scotland and advises on matters of Scots law. They play a key role in constitutional matters, ensuring the UK government's interests are represented and that legal issues involving devolution or Scottish legislation are properly addressed. The Advocate General supports the UK government's legal position in cases that may impact the constitutional framework or devolved powers. Question 125. Explain the concept of a selective incorporation in the UK legal system. How does it apply to the incorporation of international treaties and conventions into domestic law? A. Selective incorporation grants absolute immunity to government officials accused of violating international treaties. B. Selective incorporation allows UK courts to apply provisions of international treaties directly in domestic cases. C. Selective incorporation restricts the application of international human rights conventions to UK citizens only. D. Selective incorporation prohibits the enforcement of international trade agreements within the UK. Correct answer. B. Selective incorporation allows UK courts to apply provisions of international treaties directly in domestic cases. Explanation. Selective incorporation in the UK legal system refers to the process by which provisions of international treaties and conventions are incorporated into domestic law through legislative or judicial mechanisms. It allows UK courts to apply relevant international obligations directly in domestic cases, ensuring compliance with international standards and obligations. Selective incorporation facilitates the alignment of UK law with international norms while respecting parliamentary sovereignty and the rule of law. Question 126. Discuss the role of the Lord Chancellor in the UK legal system. What responsibilities does this position hold, and how does it contribute to the administration of justice? A. The Lord Chancellor oversees the prosecution of criminal cases in England and Wales, ensuring fair trials. B. The Lord Chancellor appoints judges to the Supreme Court and oversees their conduct during judicial proceedings. C. The Lord Chancellor leads the Ministry of Justice, sets policy priorities, and manages the court system. D. The Lord Chancellor represents the UK government in legal disputes with foreign governments and international organizations. Correct answer. C. The Lord Chancellor leads the Ministry of Justice, sets policy priorities, and manages the court system. Explanation. The Lord Chancellor in the UK is responsible for leading the Ministry of Justice, setting policy priorities related to the justice system, and overseeing the administration of courts and tribunals. They play a key role in ensuring the independence and effectiveness of the judiciary, appointing judges, and safeguarding the rule of law. The Lord Chancellor's responsibilities include promoting access to justice, supporting legal reforms, and maintaining public confidence in the justice system. Question 127. Explain the concept of a prerogative powers in the UK constitutional framework. How do these powers differ from statutory authority, and what role do they play in modern governance? A. Prerogative powers allow Parliament to override judicial decisions without appeal. B. Prerogative powers grant the monarch discretionary authority in areas like foreign affairs and treaty making. C. Prerogative powers authorize local governments to enact ordinances without parliamentary approval. D. Prerogative powers prohibit public officials from exercising executive functions in times of national crisis. Correct answer. B. Prerogative powers grant the monarch discretionary authority in areas like foreign affairs and treaty making. Explanation. Prerogative powers in the UK refer to discretionary powers historically held by the monarch but exercised on the advice of government ministers in modern times. These powers include matters of foreign affairs, defense, and the granting of honors, among others. They differ from statutory authority as they are not derived from legislation but rather from royal prerogative, evolving through constitutional practice and conventions. Prerogative powers ensure flexibility in governance while respecting parliamentary sovereignty. Question 128. Discuss the concept of electoral fraud in the context of UK elections. What are the types of electoral fraud, and how does the Electoral Commission mitigate these risks? A. Electoral fraud involves campaigning for political candidates outside designated areas on election day. B. Electoral fraud includes voter impersonation, ballot tampering, and bribery to influence election outcomes unlawfully. C. Electoral fraud allows political parties to exceed campaign spending limits without legal consequences. D. Electoral fraud permits foreign nationals to vote in UK elections without verification of eligibility. Correct answer. B. Electoral fraud includes voter impersonation, ballot tampering, and bribery to influence election outcomes unlawfully. Explanation. Electoral fraud in the UK refers to illegal actions that undermine the integrity of elections, such as voter impersonation, tampering with ballots, or bribing voters. These activities are criminal offences under UK law and can lead to prosecution. The Electoral Commission plays a crucial role in mitigating electoral fraud risks by implementing measures such as voter registration checks, polling station monitoring, and public awareness campaigns. These efforts aim to ensure fair and transparent elections, uphold democratic principles, and maintain public trust in the electoral process. Question 129. Explain the concept of devolution max in the context of UK constitutional reform. How does it differ from federalism, and what implications does it have for governance in the UK? A. Devolution max grants regional governments exclusive authority over all legislative matters similar to federal states. B. Devolution max enhances the autonomy of regional governments while maintaining UK Parliament's authority over constitutional matters. C. Devolution max abolishes the UK Parliament and establishes separate legislatures for England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. D. Devolution max restricts regional governments' powers to local administrative functions, excluding legislative authority. Correct answer. B. Devolution max enhances the autonomy of regional governments while maintaining UK Parliament's authority over constitutional matters. Explanation. Devolution max refers to a hypothetical scenario where regional governments within the UK, such as those in Scotland and Wales, would gain substantial autonomy over legislative and policy matters while remaining part of the UK. Unlike federalism, where states have constitutionally defined powers, devolution max maintains the UK Parliament's sovereignty over constitutional issues such as defence and foreign affairs. It aims to balance regional autonomy with national unity, reflecting the asymmetrical devolution framework. Question 130. Discuss the principle of a subsidiarity in the context of EU governance. How does it influence decision-making and relations between EU institutions and member states? A. Subsidiarity requires EU institutions to centralize decision-making authority without consulting member states. B. Subsidiarity mandates that EU law should be applied uniformly across all member states, regardless of regional differences. C. Subsidiarity ensures that decisions are made at the most appropriate level of governance, closer to the citizens affected. D. Subsidiarity permits member states to opt out of EU policies without consequences. Correct answer. C. Subsidiarity ensures that decisions are made at the most appropriate level of governance, closer to the citizens affected. Explanation. Subsidiarity in EU governance means that decisions should be made at the most local or regional level possible, provided they are more effective than decisions made at the EU level. It aims to decentralize authority, respect member states' autonomy, and enhance democratic accountability by involving citizens in decision-making processes. Subsidiarity is enshrined in the EU Treaty and guides EU institutions in drafting legislation and policies that respect national and regional diversity. Question 131. Explain the role of the Prime Minister's Office, PMO, in the UK government. What functions does it perform, and how does it support the Prime Minister's leadership? A. The PMO oversees legislative affairs in the House of Commons and ensures parliamentary support for government policies. B. The PMO manages the administration of public services and coordinates policy implementation across government departments. C. The PMO provides strategic advice to the Prime Minister, coordinates government operations, and manages communication with the public and media. D. The PMO appoints cabinet ministers and oversees their activities within their respective government departments. Correct answer. C. The PMO provides strategic advice to the Prime Minister, coordinates government operations, and manages communication with the public and media. Explanation. The Prime Minister's Office, PMO, in the UK supports the Prime Minister by providing strategic advice, coordinating government operations, and managing communications with the public and media. It facilitates the implementation of government policies, ensures coherence across departments, and advises on political strategies and priorities. The PMO plays a central role in supporting the Prime Minister's leadership and decision-making, reflecting the UK's parliamentary system of government. Question 132. Discuss the concept of judicial activism in the UK legal system. What are the implications of judicial activism for the separation of powers and judicial independence? A. Judicial activism involves judges interpreting laws strictly according to legislative intent, without expanding legal principles. B. Judicial activism allows judges to issue rulings that initiate significant social or policy changes, often beyond the scope of existing laws. C. Judicial activism mandates that judges defer to government decisions without questioning their legality or constitutionality. D. Judicial activism requires judges to prioritize international legal standards over domestic laws and court decisions. Correct answer. B. Judicial activism allows judges to issue rulings that initiate significant social or policy changes, often beyond the scope of existing laws. Explanation. Judicial activism refers to judicial philosophy where judges interpret laws broadly, sometimes making decisions that lead to significant social or policy changes beyond what might be explicitly stated in legislation. It involves judges taking an active role in shaping legal and societal norms through their interpretations and rulings. Judicial activism can impact the balance of powers by influencing legislative and executive actions, although it may also be criticized for potentially overstepping judicial boundaries. Question 133. Explain the concept of constitutional monarchy in the UK. How does it differ from absolute monarchy, and what role does the monarchy play in modern governance? A. Constitutional monarchy grants the monarch unrestricted authority over legislative and executive functions. B. Constitutional monarchy limits the monarch's powers under a constitution, with executive authority vested in elected officials. C. Constitutional monarchy allows the monarch to dissolve parliament and appoint government ministers without parliamentary approval. D. Constitutional monarchy excludes the monarch from ceremonial duties and public engagements. Correct answer. B. Constitutional monarchy limits the monarch's powers under a constitution with executive authority vested in elected officials. Explanation. In a constitutional monarchy like the UK, the monarch's powers are limited by a constitution or laws, with executive authority exercised by elected officials such as the Prime Minister and Cabinet. The monarch's role is largely ceremonial, involving state duties, representing the nation, and promoting national unity. They perform nonpartisan functions, such as opening Parliament, granting royal assent to legislation, and representing the UK internationally. Constitutional monarchy contrasts with absolute monarchy, where the monarch holds unrestricted authority over government affairs. Question 134. Discuss the impact of the Good Friday Agreement on governance and peace in Northern Ireland. How does the agreement address political tensions and promote reconciliation? A. The Good Friday Agreement establishes Northern Ireland as an independent sovereign state. separate from the UK. B. The Good Friday Agreement grants Northern Ireland exclusive authority over foreign affairs and defence matters. C. The Good Friday Agreement promotes power sharing between unionist and nationalist communities, ensuring representation in government. D. The Good Friday Agreement excludes Northern Ireland from participating in UK elections and parliamentary proceedings. Correct answer. C. The Good Friday Agreement promotes power sharing between unionist and nationalist communities, ensuring representation in government. Explanation. The Good Friday Agreement, Belfast Agreement, of 1998 aimed to bring an end to political violence in Northern Ireland and establish a framework for power sharing between unionist and nationalist communities. It created the Northern Ireland Assembly, where major decisions are made jointly by representatives from both communities, ensuring political inclusivity and addressing historical grievances. The agreement also established cross-border institutions with the Republic of Ireland, promoting cooperation and reconciliation. Correct answer. C. The Good Friday Agreement promotes power sharing between unionist and nationalist communities, ensuring representation in government. Explanation. The Good Friday Agreement, Belfast Agreement, of 1998 aimed to bring an end to political violence in Northern Ireland and establish a framework for power sharing between unionist and nationalist communities. It created the Northern Ireland Assembly, where major decisions are made jointly by representatives from both communities, ensuring political inclusivity and addressing historical grievances. The agreement also established cross-border institutions with the Republic of Ireland, promoting cooperation and reconciliation. Correct answer. C. Parliamentary sovereignty allows Parliament to make or unmake any law, with no legal authority able to challenge its decisions. Explanation. Parliamentary sovereignty in the UK means that Parliament has the ultimate legal authority to make or repeal any law, and no other body, including the judiciary, can override or invalidate its decisions. It reflects the principle of legislative supremacy, where Parliament's enactments are binding and cannot be overturned by the courts unless Parliament explicitly decides to do so. This principle ensures that the UK legal system upholds democratic accountability and respects the will of elected representatives. Question 136. Explain the concept of constitutional conventions in the UK. How do these conventions differ from legally enforceable rules? And what role do they play in the functioning of government? A. Constitutional conventions are binding rules that govern the relationship between the monarchy and Parliament, ensuring compliance with legal mandates. B. Constitutional conventions are informal practices that regulate the behavior of constitutional actors, such as the Prime Minister and Cabinet, without legal enforcement. C. Constitutional conventions permit government ministers to bypass parliamentary scrutiny in the enactment of emergency legislation. D. Constitutional conventions allow regional governments to override UK Parliament's legislative authority in matters of regional interest. Correct answer. B. Constitutional conventions are informal practices that regulate the behavior of constitutional actors, such as the Prime Minister and Cabinet, without legal enforcement. Explanation. Constitutional conventions in the UK are unwritten rules and practices that guide the behavior and interactions of constitutional actors, including the monarch, Prime Minister, Cabinet, and Parliament. They are not legally enforceable but are crucial for maintaining stability, defining roles, and preserving constitutional norms. Conventions evolve over time based on political precedent and societal expectations, contributing to the UK's flexible constitutional framework. Question 136. Explain the concept of constitutional conventions in the UK. How do these conventions differ from legally enforceable rules? And what role do they play in the functioning of government? A. Constitutional conventions are binding rules that govern the relationship between the monarchy and Parliament, ensuring compliance with legal mandates. B. Constitutional conventions are informal practices that regulate the behavior of constitutional actors, such as the Prime Minister and Cabinet, without legal enforcement. C. Constitutional conventions permit government ministers to bypass parliamentary scrutiny in the enactment of emergency legislation. D. Constitutional conventions allow regional governments to override UK Parliament's legislative authority in matters of regional interest. Correct answer. B. Acquis communautaire requires EU member states to adopt and maintain EU laws, regulations, and policies as part of their legal systems. Explanation. Qui communautaire refers to the body of EU law, regulations, and policies that EU member states are required to adopt and enforce within their national legal systems. It includes all EU treaties, directives, regulations, and court decisions reflecting the EU legal and policy framework. Compliance with the acquis communautaire is essential for EU membership and participation in the EU single market, ensuring uniformity in legal standards and regulatory practices across member states. Question 138. Explain the concept of delegated legislation in the UK parliamentary system. How does delegated legislation differ from primary legislation, and what safeguards are in place to control its use? A. Delegated legislation grants local governments the authority to enact laws without parliamentary approval, focusing on regional policy priorities. B. Delegated legislation allows government ministers to make detailed rules and regulations under powers granted by an act of parliament. C. Delegated legislation permits judicial review of government decisions related to national security and defense matters. D. Delegated legislation requires approval by the House of Lords before becoming enforceable as statutory law. Correct answer. B. Delegated legislation allows government ministers to make detailed rules and regulations under powers granted by an act of parliament. Explanation. Delegated legislation refers to laws made by government ministers under authority granted by an act of parliament. Allows for the detailed implementation of primary legislation, covering technical or administrative matters that Parliament may not have the expertise or time to address comprehensively. Safeguards to control its use include parliamentary scrutiny through committees, statutory instruments being laid before Parliament for review, and the ability of Parliament to annul delegated legislation if deemed inappropriate or excessive. Question 139. Discuss the concept of devolution in the UK. How does devolution differ across nations, and what implications does it have for national unity and governance? A. Devolution grants regional governments in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland powers over legislative matters, while England retains centralised authority over key policy areas. B. Devolution establishes a federal system of government where each constituent nation within the UK has equal representation in a national assembly. C. Devolution limits the authority of regional governments to ceremonial duties, without legislative powers over local policy issues. D. Devolution allows regional governments to secede from the UK and establish independent states without legal consequences. Correct answer. A. Devolution grants regional governments in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland powers over legislative matters, while England retains centralised authority over key policy areas. Explanation. Devolution in the UK refers to the delegation of powers from the UK Parliament to regional governments in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Each region has its legislative authority over certain policy areas such as education and healthcare, while the UK Parliament retains sovereignty over constitutional matters like defence and foreign affairs. Devolution aims to accommodate regional differences, enhance local governance, and promote national unity by allowing for tailored policy solutions in different parts of the UK. Question 140. Explain the concept of consensus government in the context of coalition politics in the UK. How does consensus government differ from majority rule, and what challenges does it pose for policy making? A. Consensus government requires all political parties to agree unanimously on legislative proposals before they can be enacted into law. B. Consensus government allows the largest political party to form a coalition with smaller parties to achieve majority support in Parliament. C. Consensus government prioritizes local government's decision-making authority over national policies, promoting regional autonomy. D. Consensus government involves negotiating and compromising among political parties to reach agreement on policy issues and legislative measures. Correct answer. D. Consensus government involves negotiating and compromising among political parties to reach agreement on policy issues and legislative measures. Explanation. Consensus government in the UK refers to a political system where multiple parties collaborate and negotiate to form a coalition government or reach agreements on policy decisions. Unlike majority rule, where decisions are made based on the preferences of the largest single party, consensus government emphasizes cooperation and compromise among different political factions. This approach aims to build broad support for policies and enhance stability in governance, but can also present challenges in terms of balancing diverse interests and maintaining coalition unity. Question 141. Discuss the role of the Speaker of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament. What functions does the Speaker perform, and how does the Speaker uphold parliamentary conventions and procedures? A. The Speaker oversees government ministries' administrative affairs and ensures compliance with parliamentary rules. B. The Speaker presides over parliamentary debates, maintains order, and ensures fair participation among members of Parliament, MPs. C. The Speaker appoints cabinet ministers and coordinates policy implementation across government departments. D. The Speaker holds veto power over legislation passed by the House of Commons, ensuring alignment with constitutional principles. Correct answer. B. The Speaker presides over parliamentary debates, maintains order, and ensures fair participation among members of Parliament, MPs. Explanation. The Speaker of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament is responsible for presiding over debates, maintaining order, and ensuring parliamentary procedures are followed. The Speaker remains impartial and does not participate in debates or vote unless to break ties. They uphold parliamentary conventions by interpreting and applying rules fairly, protecting MPs' rights to speak and ensuring debates are conducted with respect and decorum. The Speaker plays a crucial role in safeguarding the integrity and functioning of the UK Parliament as a democratic institution. Correct answer. B. The Speaker presides over parliamentary debates, maintains order, and ensures fair participation among members of Parliament, MPs. Explanation. The Speaker of the House of Commons in the UK Parliament is responsible for presiding over debates, maintaining order, and ensuring parliamentary procedures are followed. The Speaker remains impartial and does not participate in debates or vote unless to break ties. They uphold parliamentary conventions by interpreting and applying rules fairly, protecting MPs' rights to speak and ensuring debates are conducted with respect and decorum. The Speaker plays a crucial role in safeguarding the integrity and functioning of the UK Parliament as a democratic institution. Correct answer. C. Judicial review enables courts to assess the legality of government actions, ensuring they comply with constitutional principles and laws. Explanation. Judicial review in the UK allows courts to review the lawfulness of governmental actions, decisions, and laws to ensure they comply with constitutional principles, statutory law, and human rights standards. It upholds the rule of law by holding public authorities accountable, preventing abuse of power, and safeguarding individual rights against arbitrary state actions. Judicial review is based on the principle that no one, including the government and parliament, is above the law, reinforcing constitutional checks and balances. Question 143. Discuss the concept of select committees in the UK Parliament. What roles do select committees play, and how do they contribute to parliamentary oversight and scrutiny? A. Select committees represent constituencies within the House of Commons and advocate for local interests in legislative debates. B. Select committees examine and scrutinize government policies, departments, and public expenditures through inquiries and investigations. C. Select committees appoint judges to lower courts and review their decisions to ensure compliance with legal standards. D. Select committees regulate the process of drafting and amending legislation before it is debated and voted on in Parliament. Correct answer. B. Select committees examine and scrutinize government policies, departments, and public expenditures through inquiries and investigations. Explanation. Select committees in the UK Parliament are specialised committees composed of MPs tasked with scrutinising government policies, departments, and public spending through inquiries, investigations, and hearings. They play a crucial role in holding the government to account, conducting independent reviews, and making recommendations to improve transparency and efficiency in governance. Select committees are essential for parliamentary oversight, ensuring that government actions align with legislative intent and serve the public interest. Question 144. Explain the principle of subsidiarity in the context of EU governance. How does subsidiarity influence decision-making processes and the distribution of powers between EU institutions and member states? A. Subsidiarity allows the EU Commission to override national governments' decisions on matters of regional importance without their consent. B. Subsidiarity requires EU institutions to intervene in national policy areas to ensure consistency and uniformity across member states. C. Subsidiarity ensures that decisions are made at the most appropriate level of governance, with higher authorities stepping in only when necessary. D. Subsidiarity grants member states full autonomy to opt out of EU regulations and directives without facing legal consequences. Correct answer. C. Subsidiarity ensures that decisions are made at the most appropriate level of governance, with higher authorities stepping in only when necessary. Explanation. Subsidiarity is a principle in EU governance that dictates decisions should be made at the lowest effective level of governance, closest to the citizens affected, rather than centrally by EU institutions. It aims to prevent unnecessary intervention by higher authorities, allowing member states and local governments to handle matters efficiently while promoting solidarity and cooperation on common issues. Subsidiarity enhances democratic accountability and responsiveness by ensuring that decisions reflect local needs and preferences, with EU intervention reserved for issues requiring collective action or cross-border coordination. Question 145. Discuss the concept of proportionality in human rights law. How does the principle of proportionality guide judicial review of government actions that impact individual rights and freedoms? A. Proportionality permits governments to impose restrictions on human rights without justifying the necessity or proportionality of such measures. B. Proportionality requires governments to demonstrate that any restrictions on human rights are necessary, proportionate, and serve a legitimate purpose. C. Proportionality allows courts to override legislative decisions that conflict with international human rights treaties and conventions. D. Proportionality obligates governments to prioritize national security concerns over individual rights protections in cases of emergency. Correct answer. B. Proportionality requires governments to demonstrate that any restrictions on human rights are necessary, proportionate, and serve a legitimate purpose. Explanation. Proportionality in human rights law requires that any interference with fundamental rights and freedoms by government actions must be proportionate to the legitimate aim pursued. This principle ensures that restrictions are justified, necessary to achieve a specific purpose, and balanced against the impact on individual rights. Courts apply the proportionality test to assess whether government measures meet these criteria, providing a framework for balancing public interests such as national security or public health with individual rights protections. Question 146. Explain the concept of dual citizenship in the UK context. How does dual citizenship impact an individual's rights and responsibilities? And what are the legal implications for UK nationals holding dual citizenship? A. Dual citizenship allows UK nationals to hold citizenship in multiple countries simultaneously, granting them equal rights and obligations in each jurisdiction. B. Dual citizenship restricts UK nationals from participating in national elections or holding public office in the UK Parliament. C. Dual citizenship permits UK nationals to renounce their UK citizenship at any time without losing their citizenship in other countries. D. Dual citizenship obligates UK nationals to prioritize their allegiance to the UK over any other country in matters of national security and foreign relations. Correct answer. A. Dual citizenship allows UK nationals to hold citizenship in multiple countries simultaneously, granting them equal rights and obligations in each jurisdiction. Explanation. Dual citizenship refers to the status of an individual who is recognized as a citizen by two or more countries. In the UK, individuals can hold dual citizenship without losing their UK nationality, allowing them to enjoy rights and responsibilities in both countries. This includes the right to live, work, and access services in each country, though specific laws regarding dual nationality can vary between nations. Dual citizenship may also affect aspects such as taxation, military service obligations, and eligibility for public office. Question 147. Discuss the principle of territorial integrity in international law. How does territorial integrity relate to the sovereignty of nation-states, and what legal implications arise from violations of this principle? A. Territorial integrity allows nation-states to annex neighboring territories without international approval, asserting historical claims over disputed lands. B. Territorial integrity ensures that nation-states' borders are respected and protected from unlawful incursions or annexations by other states. C. Territorial integrity obligates nation-states to cede sovereignty over disputed territories to international organizations for arbitration and resolution. D. Territorial integrity permits nation-states to unilaterally declare independence from their existing borders without international recognition. Correct answer. B. Territorial integrity ensures that nation-states' borders are respected and protected from unlawful incursions or annexations by other states. Explanation. Territorial integrity is a fundamental principle of international law that asserts the inviolability of a state's borders and sovereignty. prohibits other states from using force or coercion to change another state's territory or annex parts of it. Violations of territorial integrity can lead to international disputes, sanctions, or even military conflict, as seen in various historical and contemporary conflicts. This principle underpins stability, respect for sovereignty, and peaceful resolution of territorial disputes through diplomatic means and international law. Question 148. Explain the concept of soft law in international relations. How does soft law differ from binding international agreements, and what role does it play in shaping global norms and standards? A. Soft law comprises legally binding treaties and conventions that establish enforceable obligations on signatory states. B. Soft law includes non-binding instruments, declarations, and guidelines that encourage voluntary compliance by states and international organizations. C. Soft law allows international courts to adjudicate disputes between states and impose sanctions for noncompliance with international norms. D. Soft law prohibits states from entering into diplomatic negotiations or trade agreements without formal approval from the United Nations. Correct answer. B. Soft law includes non-binding instruments, declarations, and guidelines that encourage voluntary compliance by states and international organizations. Explanation. Soft law refers to non-binding instruments, guidelines, principles, and declarations that encourage states and international actors to voluntarily adopt certain norms and practices. Unlike binding treaties and conventions, soft law does not impose legal obligations or sanctions for noncompliance but relies on cooperation and persuasion to promote global standards. Soft law plays a crucial role in shaping international norms, fostering consensus on complex issues, and facilitating cooperation on shared challenges such as environmental protection, human rights, and cybersecurity. Question 149. Discuss the concept of judicial activism in the context of UK constitutional law. How does judicial activism differ from judicial restraint, and what are the implications for the separation of powers? A. Judicial activism involves courts deferring to legislative decisions and executive actions, limiting their role in interpreting constitutional principles. B. Judicial activism refers to courts' proactive role in shaping public policy and rights through expansive interpretations of laws and constitutional provisions. C. Judicial activism requires courts to uphold parliamentary statutes without questioning their constitutionality or compliance with international treaties. D. Judicial activism allows courts to dismiss cases challenging government actions as unconstitutional without hearing oral arguments or reviewing evidence. Correct answer. B. Judicial activism refers to courts' proactive role in shaping public policy and rights through expansive interpretations of laws and constitutional provisions. Explanation. Judicial activism describes a judicial philosophy where courts actively interpret laws and constitutional provisions to advance public policy goals, protect individual rights, and address societal issues. It involves judges taking an active stance in judicial review, sometimes expanding legal principles beyond traditional boundaries to achieve justice or promote social change. This approach contrasts with judicial restraint, where judges limit their decisions to strict interpretations of laws and defer to legislative and executive branches unless laws are clearly unconstitutional. Judicial activism can influence the balance of powers between branches of government, raising debates over the proper role of courts in democratic governance. Question 150. Explain the concept of a diplomatic immunity in international law. How does diplomatic immunity protect diplomats and embassy staff, and what are the limitations of this immunity? A. Diplomatic immunity exempts diplomats from criminal prosecution and civil lawsuits in host countries, ensuring they cannot be held accountable for any actions committed during their tenure. B. Diplomatic immunity grants diplomats immunity only from civil lawsuits but not from criminal prosecution in host countries, subjecting them to local legal systems. C. Diplomatic immunity extends to embassy staff, granting them immunity from all legal proceedings in host countries, including criminal offenses committed off-duty. D. Diplomatic immunity applies to diplomats and embassy staff only during official duties and does not cover criminal offenses or serious civil disputes. Correct answer. D. Diplomatic immunity applies to diplomats and embassy staff only during official duties and does not cover criminal offenses or serious civil disputes. Explanation. Diplomatic immunity is a principle of international law that grants diplomats and embassy staff protection from arrest, criminal prosecution, and civil lawsuits in host countries while performing official duties. It ensures diplomats can carry out diplomatic functions without fear of harassment or interference by local authorities. However, diplomatic immunity is not absolute and does not cover serious criminal offenses such as murder or espionage committed outside official duties. Host countries can waive immunity in cases where diplomats abuse their privileges or engage in unlawful activities, ensuring accountability and upholding the rule of law.